Jersey Mike's has gone from a local chain to a national powerhouse in the world of sandwiches. We've listed some of the most popular menu items at Jersey Mike's and ranked them from worst to best, so you'll know what to order the next time you stop by. Look, we don't want to hate on tuna salad too much. In reality, a well-made tuna salad sandwich is absolutely delicious, and it makes for a filling lunch. But most of the time, we would prefer tuna salad that we've made ourselves at home. We think a lot of other people feel the same way, since Jersey Mike's descriptive phrase for their tuna fish sandwich is, quote, freshly made on premises. That's great, but, well, why shouldn't it be? And once you try it for yourself, you're going to realize that this tuna salad is seriously lacking. It's only got celery, mayo, and pepper to accompany the tuna, which leaves you with a pretty boring salad. It doesn't even have eggs in it. We suggest passing on this one and trying one of the many other actually tasty sandwiches on the menu. Next. We love bacon, and honestly, who doesn't? But if there's one way you could ruin this glorious food, it's by covering it with an ungodly amount of ranch dressing that will utterly drown out that distinct bacon flavor. That's just what Jersey Mike's did in the base of their bacon ranch chicken cheesesteak. If that sounds like way too many heavy ingredients to find their way into the sandwich, you're not wrong. Moreover, the chicken in the sandwich is kind of dry. The crispy bacon makes up for it, but it is completely ruined by the ranch. Add in all that cheese, and you have a sandwich that may give you a heart attack after you take your first bite. The different components all have something going for them, sure, but we think they would do better playing as the star in their own separate sandwiches. We love that there are so many sandwiches with mushrooms on them at Jersey Mike's. However, there's one mushroom recipe we didn't like all that much, and that's the portobello chicken cheesesteak. When it comes to a meaty umami flavor and texture, the portobello is doing most of the heavy lifting here. But unfortunately, there aren't enough mushrooms to lend some extra moisture to the dry pieces of chicken. To top it all off, there are basically no fresh vegetables in the sandwich at all. Sure, you get some grilled onions and peppers in addition to the mushrooms, but that's about it. This may not be the worst sandwich, but compared to the other options on the menu, it's a sad choice. Want to make a ham and provolone sandwich at home? Go for it. But at a restaurant? We think that it's largely a waste of money to get such a simple sandwich. That's why you won't see us ordering the ham and provolone sandwich from Jersey Mike's anytime soon. Let's just be honest, it's boring. We don't want to buy something that we got from our middle school cafeteria for under $2 back in the day. The ham in the sandwich is okay, but it's nothing spectacular. The same could be said for the provolone cheese. The fresh vegetables add some crunch and flavor to the mix, but they don't make up for the lack of flavor you get from the main ingredients. All told, this sandwich feels like an echo of another, more flavorful meal. Often, after you eat a large, savory meal, you want something that fills the sugary void in your stomach. No matter how full you are, it's always easy to put away just a little bit more of the sweet stuff. Unfortunately, when you go to Jersey Mike's, you're not going to have that many dessert options. It's definitely not a restaurant where you would expect that kind of thing, but we were disappointed with the sweet selection nonetheless. One dessert you should probably just skip over entirely: the brownie. You may be wondering how someone can mess up a brownie. To be fair, these brownies aren't disgusting per se, it's just that there's nothing that would keep us going after the first bite or two. The Jersey Mike's brownie is really sweet and almost too rich. Of course, you can't go wrong with a dose of chocolate in just about anything, but we think that this dessert is ultimately pretty boring despite the promise of a decadent little treat. So when you finish your sub and feel a hankering for something sweet, do yourself a favor and look elsewhere. We absolutely love it when restaurants provide vegetarian options for their customers. At Jersey Mike's, though, your options are still very limited. One of your only vegetarian-friendly options on the menu is the veggie. Keep in mind that this sandwich definitely isn't vegan-friendly. It boasts both Swiss and provolone cheese. Then green bell peppers, lettuce, onions, and tomatoes are added to the mix. Spices finish off the flavor, but that's it. There's literally nothing else on the sandwich, and that leaves veggie lovers in a sad place. We love a simple sandwich with uncomplicated ingredients, but sometimes the subs at Jersey Mike's can be a bit too boring and plain for our preferences. That's why we're not huge fans of the roast beef and provolone sandwich. This sub is really similar to the ham and provolone, but instead of ham, you get roast beef. It ended up in a better spot on our ranking because the roast beef at Jersey Mike's is actually quite good. Besides that, though, this sandwich is still as boring as the ham and provolone. It's got nothing going on that sets it apart from the most basic of sandwiches, so it has us wondering why we just don't make something similar at home. If you love roast beef, go for it. Here's another sandwich that you could just as easily make at home. There's nothing wrong with the BLT at Jersey Mike's. We just think that it's not worth getting it here when it takes so little effort to cook one of these up on your own. It really is only bacon, lettuce, and tomato. There's nothing else that makes it unique or worth trying, making it a kind of paltry sandwich. As you can imagine, the flavors come together in this sandwich well, just like with any other BLT. However, there's something lacking with the iceberg lettuce, and we wish they would have opted for higher quality ingredients in this case at least. Back in the day, Jersey Mike's was serving up subs before a lot of other restaurants carried sandwiches like this. And in the 50s, people would come to the sandwich shop to order the second sandwich on the menu at the time, the Jersey Shore favorite. It contains capicola, ham, and provolone, which all come together nicely. It is a bit heavy, but we like it anyway. A spread of veggies gives you some crunch and more flavor. The lettuce and tomato make the sandwich a bit lighter and more manageable than it would be if it were just stacked high with meat. Yet while this is a solid sandwich, there are definitely better and more exciting items on the menu. There's been a lot of innovation since the 50s after all. In theory, the California chicken cheesesteak should be a delicious sandwich, and while it's definitely not bad, it wouldn't be our first choice either. That may have something to do with the chicken, which has a dry texture that isn't too pleasant. Mix that with the white American cheese, and you'd think that this is a heavy sandwich that would make you more thirsty than it would fix your hunger pangs. But we were surprised to find out this sandwich is also stacked high with veggies. This isn't always the case at Jersey Mike's when you're ordering a hot sandwich, so we liked that this one had something that made it stand out from the pack, but not enough to bump it higher up the list. If you're looking for a whole lot of meaty flavors in one sandwich, then we have the perfect Jersey Mike's sub for you, the Club Supreme. It combines roast beef, turkey, and bacon all in one sandwich for one. If you want a lot of different types of meat, but you're not a fan of the more traditional Italian slices, this sandwich is a great option. In addition to all the meat, you'll also enjoy Swiss cheese, mayo, lettuce, and tomato on this sub. It's a cold sandwich, so it's ideal for lunch or a lighter dinner. While this sandwich is a good option, this choice of different meats isn't strictly the most creative or interesting combination out there. Jersey Mike's offers some types of meat that you won't see at other sandwich shops, so we think it's a shame to pass those up and go for the most basic meats of the bunch. The ham at Jersey Mike's isn't fantastic, and that's why the pork-heavy stickball special didn't end up with a better spot on our list. But that doesn't mean you should give up on the sandwich completely. It has a lot to offer when you consider the salami and provolone that appear beside that ham. The salami at Jersey Mike's is seriously tasty, and it will lend a deep, rich flavor that's balanced nicely by that provolone. Like most of the cold subs you'll find at Jersey Mike's, this one also comes with lettuce and tomato. These veggies are even more important in sandwiches like this one, where the meat tends to be very heavy because they make the whole sandwich feel lighter and more manageable. Now, we all love a good Philly cheesesteak from time to time. It's something that is warm and comforting, and it'll bring you back to the first time you ever bit into an iteration of this iconic sandwich. Of course, the best place to grab a Philly is in Philadelphia, but we can't all be lucky enough to live there. So if you don't live in Philly, your best option may be getting the Mike's Famous Philly at Jersey Mike's.
At Jersey Mike's, a cheesesteak is really something to behold. We make each one the right way on a piping hot, flat-top grill.
We'll start off by saying this: the sandwich is really good, and you'll probably enjoy the combination of steak, onion, peppers, and white American cheese. But if you left it up to us, we would swap out the cheese for a variety that actually tastes good, or at least has more complexity, and we might try to add our own spin to it. This sandwich is tasty, but boring. Here's another mushroom number, but this time, the sandwich gets much better marks in our book than its predecessors here. It's the portobello cheesesteak, and it's relatively new on the menu. As you may have guessed, this hot sub starts out with plenty of steak, to which mushrooms and white American cheese are added. The peppers and onions add some extra flavor, and the velvety texture of the mushrooms works really well with the steak, and the creaminess from the cheese sends it over the top. Do we wish there were some more fresh ingredients in the sandwich? Yes. And do we wish the steak were slightly less dry than it is? Of course. But if you are looking for one of the better mushroom-filled options on the menu, and you still want a sandwich that features plenty of meat, the portobello cheesesteak may just be the way to go. Sometimes you want a sandwich that's filled to the brim with meat. Whatever the case may be, the original Italian is here to meet your needs. When it comes to the meat, you'll be getting prosciutto, salami, pepperoni, ham, and capicola. Yes, this sandwich comes with 5 different types of meat. Once you add in the veggies, this is a complete meal on its own. You probably won't even have to get chips or dessert to feel full after you finish one of these. It isn't for the faint of heart, but if you don't mind clogging your arteries a bit, the original Italian should be on your list of must-try sandwiches. This is truly an odd and interesting sandwich, but when you try the Cancro special for yourself, you'll see it appears at first to be an incredibly odd combination of roast beef along with salami. Who thought of the combo? A Pepsi delivery man ordered the sandwich on his way out of the shop one fateful day in 1974. According to Jersey Mike's, it seemed to be a winning combination, so they put it on the menu for everyone to enjoy. In addition to roast beef and salami, you'll also find provolone cheese and veggies on the sandwich. If we're honest though, those are just extras. The real magic is in the mixing of these meats. There are a few cheesesteak options on the menu when you take a trip to Jersey Mike's, but if you really want the best of the best when it comes to a cheesesteak, you have to go with the Big Kahuna cheesesteak. This sandwich is something special, and it all comes down to one very important ingredient: the jalapenos. The spiciness they add isn't overwhelming, and the acidic kick they bring makes all the other ingredients taste even better by association. We kind of wish there were more mushrooms in the mix, but considering all the other amazing parts of the sandwich, we can't complain too much. Mushrooms, grilled onions, and peppers with melted cheese and delicious beef steak? Sign us up immediately, please. Those with sensitive stomachs, beware, but this is definitely one of the tastiest hot sandwiches on the menu. While this sandwich may seem like it's a little bit on the plain side at first, that's part of the reason why we like it. It's the club sub, and it's like a lot of other club sandwiches you've likely had at different restaurants. For starters, it comes packed with ham, turkey, and applewood smoked bacon. While there isn't a ton of flavor coming from the turkey and the ham, the bacon really adds up for that by adding a kick of fat and a more intensely savory flavor. Once again proving the theory that bacon makes everything better. This is the kind of sub you can share with the whole family, and kids and adults alike are sure to gobble it up. Just because it's not the most creative item on the menu doesn't mean it isn't one of the most delicious. We love a sub that offers a kick of spice or an unexpected flavor. While a lot of the subs at Jersey Mike's are relatively straightforward, the Chipotle chicken cheesesteak has something to offer that a lot of the other menu items don't. The Chipotle flavoring may only be coming from the Chipotle mayo, but that doesn't mean it doesn't pack a serious punch in the flavor department. While the chicken in some of the other sandwiches seems kind of dry, the addition of extra mayo here seems to make all the difference. It adds some richness to the overall flavor, which makes the sandwich go down a lot more easily. And though the mayo certainly has some kick, you don't have to worry about this one being too spicy. The smoky chipotle pepper offers more flavor than it does heat, so your taste buds should be able to handle it. Buffalo sauce and chicken is one of those flavor combos that it's hard to go wrong with. And that's just the case with the buffalo chicken cheesesteak sandwich you'll find at Jersey Mike's. Frank's Red Hot sauce blesses the chicken in this recipe with a spicy and tangy flavor that you won't get from any other sub at this restaurant. While the hot sauce is doing most of the heavy lifting here, we like the creaminess of the cheese and the dressing along with the acidity of the Frank's Red Hot. It's an ideal combo. If you don't eat meat but are still looking for something delicious from Jersey Mike's to enjoy, then you have to snag a grilled portobello mushroom and Swiss sandwich. You're going to get a ton of mushrooms in the sandwich, and they will give you that meat-like texture and taste you love. This is what sets the sandwich apart from the veggie. It's actually got something substantial to it, and it won't feel like you're just eating cheese and salad on a piece of bread. All the grilled veggies come together to provide just the right amount of sweetness to complement the uniquely savory umami flavor of the mushrooms. Plus, as the name suggests, there's also Swiss cheese on top, so you won't miss that extra salty and creamy touch. There are some sandwiches that are super simple, but because they combine the best ingredients in just the right ways, they end up being some of our favorites. When it comes to subs at Jersey Mike's, the number 4 definitely fits that bill. It has our 2 favorite meats that this restaurant carries, prosciutini and capicolo. That meat is paired with provolone cheese, which we definitely prefer to the more common white American cheese you'll see on a lot of Jersey Mike's sandwiches. Lettuce and tomato top it all off for a touch of vegetable freshness. If you want a stellar sub-eating experience, we completely suggest this sub. At the end of the day, however, it comes down to what your favorite is.
I love them all!
Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
Olive Garden is known for providing fast and affordable Italian dining to the masses. But just how do its most popular dishes stack up against each other? Because your family, as the slogan goes, here are the most popular Olive Garden menu items ranked from worst to best. In a cruel twist of irony, the dish we were most excited about was the one that left us the most gravely disappointed. Olive Garden's Alfredo sauce is practically iconic. Made in-house and oh so velvety, the recipe has stayed tried and true with 0 alterations since the restaurant was founded. For many of us, it was our first introduction to Italian-American food and was the highlight of a trip to Olive Garden as a kid. Sadly, our visions of fettuccine enveloped in the creamy and luscious Alfredo sauce came crashing down on our most recent visit. What we received was a generous portion of pasta that wasn't tossed in the sauce that we know and love. Instead, a tiny scoop of the homemade sauce sat atop and towards the center of the heap. There was no attempt from the kitchen at combining it with the pasta, and by the time it reached our table, it was heading towards congealed territory. Without it being properly combined, some noodles were drenched in sauce that was less of a sauce and more of a solid cheese, while others were completely bare. The sautéed shrimp were tiny, as expected, and lacked any additional flavoring that would have helped save the dish. There are many ways to kick off a meal at Olive Garden, but never with our evening selection, lasagne frita, which was our next foray into OG oblivion. Learn from us, friends. This popular item is unique to the establishment and is described as fried Parmesan breaded lasagna topped with Parmesan cheese and meat sauce with pan-seared beef and Italian sausage that is then served over creamy Alfredo sauce. It was a heavy start to our meal, but we were just getting started and felt up for the challenge. What we received could be best described as a plate of deep-fried nonsense. We were expecting an exterior similar to that of a toasted ravioli, but the fritters were not at all crispy. The addition of multiple sauces added further to its sogginess and our utter confusion. There was simply way too much going on, with the only flavor that shined through being one of grease. Next time, this will be a hard pass. You don't get much more quintessentially Italian-American than the chicken parmigiana. While unheard of in Italy, this is a staple in many American restaurants and should be the shining example of how you judge them, at least in our humble opinion. For Olive Garden's version, this classic entree comes with 2 lightly fried Parmesan-breaded chicken breasts that are covered in a homemade marinara sauce and then topped with melted Italian cheese. We had high hopes for this one, so let's start with the positive. The chicken was actually cooked really well, but everything fell flat after that. The breading had no distinct flavor outside of a salty profile. The sauce and cheese added little to the dish, especially since they seemed to have been left under the broiler just a bit too long. And it was served with a standard, sad side of spaghetti and sauce that proved to be just okay, with the pasta being slightly overdone. Overall, it was completely forgettable and something we think should be avoided at all costs upon your next visit. Our harrowing journey continued with another Olive Garden classic, the tour of Italy. In this dish, full single servings of each of the 3 Olive Garden classics, chicken parmigiana, lasagna classico, and the signature fettuccine alfredo, come together on one large, almost family-sized plate. With a price point just shy of $20, it is a fantastic deal, but we base that solely on the portion size. It began with a portion of the forgettable chicken parmigiana on one side. Then, cradled in the middle, you'll find a heaping portion of the fettuccine that was, once again, just topped with their signature Alfredo sauce as opposed to it being mixed thoroughly. Then, the lasagna classico looked like an absolute mess, a far cry from the countless photos used on menus and in commercials. The reason the tour of Italy even made its way slightly up our list is solely based on its price point, as it felt less like a tour of Italy and more like a tour of the frozen aisle at your local grocery store. Unfortunately, beyond it being one heck of a deal if you're starving, there's no other reason to order this dish. Things are beginning to look up, we promise. The classic and comforting dish of baked ziti brought pasta, sauce, and cheese together in perfect harmony with an explosion of flavor that's baked to ensure a nice, crusty exterior. Simply described as a baked blend of Italian cheese, pasta, and their signature 5-cheese marinara, Olive Garden's version is about as traditional as you'll find in any chain restaurant. Upon first inspection, you'll notice a perfectly golden crust on top of the dish and a generous portion of pasta beneath. The mozzarella was the prevailing flavor, with the signature 5-cheese marinara acting as a secondary contributor. But we do wish there'd been a creamy element to the dish. Simply put, however, it was pleasant. Bonus points for it being just as delicious reheated the next day. Nothing gets a meal going quite like a nice cocktail. With Italian food, you can usually count on a nice glass of crisp red wine to be the perfect complement to an Italian meal. But at Olive Garden, a place that does not exactly do things traditionally, the signature cocktail is an Italian margarita. And the verdict? We didn't hate it. The addition of the amaretto gave it a certain brightness with a unique tart-meets-sweet flavor. This one also has the added bonus of being quite boozy, with approximately 3.5 ounces of liquor in it. The Italian twist was a bit of a surprise and offered a less in-your-face sweetness than the standard chain margarita. Since it is sugar-laden, it might be more classic to pair your Italian-inspired meal with a glass of wine. Still, we enjoyed its refreshing nature, and the buzz certainly prepared us for all the food we were about to consume. The tiramisu is one of the few dishes on the Olive Garden menu with actual roots in Italy. The classic, no-bake, coffee-flavored dessert is served cold, and it's rich yet light, and offers just the right amounts of sweetness with a dash of bitterness to cap off a meal. The subtle jolt of caffeine also provides the added bonus of helping you thoroughly avoid a food coma. Color us impressed that Olive Garden actually serves a very good version of the Italian dessert. With a non-alcoholic spin to make it a family-friendly option, it's layered with custard and espresso-soaked ladyfingers as opposed to the rum in the traditional preparation. On our visit, we found it to be incredibly delicate and flavorful. We missed the slight bitterness that the alcohol provided in soaking the ladyfingers, but the espresso mimicked it quite nicely. Bravo, Olive Garden!
Why don't you find something you want on the menu? And you nod and smile. All right, bigger nod. This all looks yummy.
At this point in our meal, as we were enjoying the main events, we were almost confident Olive Garden couldn't deliver in the entree department. And then came the chicken marsala. As luck would have it, this beacon of hope finally came along to change our minds. The chicken was cooked to juicy perfection, while the plentiful mushrooms and marsala sauce offered delicious flavors in perfect consistency. It was a welcome diversion from the often overpowering sweet versions of marsala sauce that tend to be found at mass-produced chain Italian-American restaurants. It's served with a side of their fettuccine alfredo, and we found the creaminess was a nice complement to the savory, sweet elements of the main course. The roots of the cheesecake are highly debated, but one thing is clear: do not confuse New York-style cheesecake with the Italian variety. The Italian version of the dessert uses ricotta cheese, and the result is a more delicate, airy, and whipped-like texture. Olive Garden pleasantly surprised us with a splendid presentation of the classic Italian preparation. The body of it was super light thanks to the ricotta, and we positively loved the flavor of the shortbread cookie crust that complemented it and added a hint of sweetness and welcome crunch. Unlike so many strawberry sauces that tend to lean towards a syrupy texture and overly sweet flavor, this one tasted very fresh and used nice, large chunks of strawberries. This was a real winner and a true highlight of what was otherwise a pretty lackluster meal overall.
I'll take half of the half of the half.
Can't believe people live like that.
Okay, now we've made it to the good stuff. The heart and soul of Olive Garden. As we inch into the top 3 of our list, we've entered the true reason why we love this place to begin with. While it can't always be rainbows and sunshine, there are some downright stellar options to be found here. Complimentary and bottomless with each and every meal, the house salad is a staple of Olive Garden. Served in a giant bowl, it comes topped with tomatoes, olives, onions, and pepperoncini, and is served with the chain's signature Italian dressing, which it describes as a special blend of Italian spices, oil, and vinegar. We'll just call it heaven in dressing form. This is the pinnacle of salads and the reason to visit the chain. On our visit, the lettuce was perfectly crisp, and the ingredients were a wonderful complement to the dressing, which, if we were able to, we'd probably drink in bottle form. It's tangy, slightly sweet, and all around just perfect. There's a reason this salad dressing has been on the menu for more than 35 years, and we doubt we'll ever see it leave. Another perk of this salad is that your server will also gladly hand-crank Parmesan cheese over the top of the plentiful dish to your heart's content. Keep it coming. While you might be tempted to go straight from the free salad to the entrees, Olive Garden actually has a rather impressive selection of homemade soups. There's zuppa toscana, minestrone, pasta e fagioli, and the fan favorite chicken and gnocchi. Described as a creamy soup made with roasted chicken, traditional Italian dumplings, and spinach, what this soup lacks in photogenic qualities, it certainly makes up for in flavor. In fact, even when we received our entrees, we continued to retreat back to our giant bowl of comfort. Creamy without being too thick, it had the consistency of a hearty broth and was chock full of ultra-tender chicken and soft, pillowy dumplings. The only way to describe it is utterly addictive. While it's doubtful we'll be seeking out a dinner return to the Olive Garden in our future, the lunch special is reason alone to visit. Available on weekdays only, this plentiful bowl of deliciousness, along with salad and breadsticks for under $8, is an absolute steal. We would have been wholly satisfied if our meal started and ended with Olive Garden's golden brown breadsticks. The restaurant's breadsticks are a cathartic experience and the true star of the Olive Garden show. Freshly baked every 15 minutes, breadsticks are complimentary with every meal. Perfectly salted, they are served warm and feature a garlicky, buttery exterior, offering just the right amount of crunch, which opens to a wonderfully pillow-like inside where all your carby dreams come true. Also offered unlimited throughout your meal, the only thing needed to bring these babies to the next level are the sauces that you can order to dip them in. Available in 8-ounce bowls, you can dip these sticks to your heart's content in fresh marinara, homemade Alfredo, and 5-cheese marinara sauces. A meal at Olive Garden might be full of twists and turns, but the trifecta of breadsticks, soup, and salad is the real reason you should visit.
Golden Corral has a ton of options on its buffet, from entrees to side dishes to desserts. But which choices should make their way onto your plate and which are best left behind? We've ranked Golden Corral's most popular items from worst to first. We know that you're probably not going to Golden Corral for all of their delicious vegetarian dishes, but that doesn't mean that you won't want to get some veggies on the side. That's why you might consider getting the carrots. However, we'd advise against it. Why? These are the most flavorless carrots we've ever tasted. Carrots are amazing when they're roasted, and they're pleasantly crunchy when they're served raw. You'll get neither of those when you order them at Golden Corral, and the fact that they taste like they have no seasoning on them at all certainly doesn't help. Give them a pass. Meatloaf isn't exactly the most luxurious high-end meat you can order from a restaurant, but that doesn't mean it's not tasty when it's done right. The magic of meatloaf is the fact that you can sneak in a ton of other ingredients to up the flavor ante, even though it just looks like a hunk of meat bread. That may be what you're expecting from the meatloaf at Golden Corral, but chances are you're going to be pretty disappointed. Why? This meatloaf is incredibly bland.
Meatloaf, double meatloaf. I hate meatloaf.
And it's not just about the flavor. This stuff is really dry as well. You may think that that's just the way meatloaf is, but when we say this meat is incredibly dry, we mean it. Avoid it if you can. How can you mess up green beans? They're pretty much the simplest vegetable you can prepare. And while this veggie seems to be slightly more seasoned than the carrots, they don't taste significantly more flavorful. They have enough salt on them to be sure, but other than that, you're not getting anything special here. And if you're trying to convince your little one to enjoy their veggies, good luck. We think it's important to get plenty of vegetables in your diet on a regular basis. But if you've eaten green beans like the ones at Golden Corral for your whole life, we would understand if you never wanted to touch them. Look, we know that the issue of carrot cake is contentious. However, we tend to reserve our judgment of carrot cake to individual cases, and the carrot cake you'll find at Golden Corral is just not good. It's incredibly dry, and even the frosting on top doesn't help the cake go down any smoother. You might think that flavor would make up for the absolutely abysmal dryness in this dessert, but that's not really on point either. This cake is somehow both way too sweet and also bland at the same time. Add to that the fact that it's covered in way too much frosting and doesn't even really look that appealing. You're better off putting in the effort to make carrot cake at home. A good pot roast is nice and juicy. Unfortunately, that's just not what you're going to get from the pot roast at Golden Corral. We couldn't believe how dry this stuff was. Take just a few bites and you're going to have such a hard time chewing through it that you won't ever want to order it again. That being said, when it comes to flavor, the pot roast is quite a bit better than the meatloaf. We can't really get over the incredibly dry texture here, but at least you're not going to feel like you're chewing on nothing if you decide to take a bite. If you know anything about sirloin, you know it's not the best cut of steak, but that doesn't mean that this cut of meat can't be enjoyable. Is the signature sirloin steak at Golden Corral particularly enjoyable? No. Like a lot of the other meat options at this buffet, it's shockingly dry. However, we realize this is probably because it's a buffet, and a lot of people aren't going to like a rarer steak. So while this sirloin steak isn't anything to write home about, it's not the worst item on the menu. If you're lucky, you'll get a nice cut that isn't too overcooked and has plenty of browning on the outside. Just take a look at the different pieces of steak and choose one that looks more appealing than the others. We can't promise you're going to love it, but you probably won't want to throw it in the trash either. We were so hopeful that the broccoli at Golden Corral would change our minds about the green veggies offered at this buffet chain. However, that's not the case. Almost across the board, the vegetables at Golden Corral seem to be severely lacking in seasoning. That's a bummer, because broccoli can be really delicious when it's cooked well. But listen, you have to get at least a little bit of green on your plate. Therefore, you may want to grab some broccoli even if it isn't the most appetizing item on the menu. Your taste buds may not be too pleased, but your body will thank you for giving it the nutrients it needs. Unfortunately, we don't think the flavor of this dish will be enough to entice you to eat more veggies, though. There are a lot of different meat options on the menu at Golden Corral, but if you want something that's on the lighter side, a dish you may be interested in is the baked fish. However, while it might be a healthy choice, it's not necessarily a particularly attractive one if you really like seafood. The fish is slightly seasoned, but we think they could have made it a lot more interesting by adding additional spices or even adding a sauce on top. The fish is cooked through, but you're not going to get a crispy exterior that adds some texture to the dish. Mostly, it's just a boring piece of baked fish that you could easily make at home. When you first see the Bourbon Street chicken at the buffet in Golden Corral, you're probably going to think that it looks delicious. And we have to admit, the spices that this chicken is covered in are really, really tasty. Overall, we were really impressed by the way this chicken was prepared when it comes to flavor. However, when we get to the texture, that's a whole other story. Though this chicken tastes good, it is pretty dry. While it might depend on the time you go to Golden Corral, you can't count on this chicken being nice and moist in the way you would probably like it. That delicious flavor may make up for the bad texture at least somewhat, but it definitely doesn't get the Bourbon Street chicken very close to the top of this list. Who doesn't love pumpkin pie? It's one of those essential dishes that we've probably all tasted at one time or another. And while it may seem like it's only something you should eat during the holiday season, that's far from the truth. In reality, when you go to Golden Corral, you'll find that a slice of pumpkin pie is just waiting for you to come pick it up and eat it. What do we think of the pumpkin pie at Golden Corral? Well, we don't have a super strong opinion on it. It's nothing special. It basically just tastes like the stuff that you'd find in a plastic container at your local grocery store's bakery. At the same time, there's nothing necessarily wrong with it. It just won't blow you away. We've complained about a lot of the veggies you'll find at Golden Corral, but one thing we won't complain about is the salad bar. The salad bar is one of the main reasons to visit Golden Corral. It's so fun to get to pick out what kind of veggies go best together. In fact, if you always had access to a salad bar, you'd probably find yourself eating way more salad than you do now. Luckily, you have lots of options when you visit the salad bar at Golden Corral. Pretty much anything you want on a salad, you'll find it here. Don't fancy yourself a good salad maker? No worries. There are also prepared salads available for you. Are there better salad bars out there? Of course. But when it comes to Golden Corral veggies, the salad bar is probably your best bet thanks to the variety of choices.
I like about Golden Corral is because we get to choose whatever food we want.
There are a few chicken options at Golden Corral, but if you're wondering what the best one is, then you have to try the fried chicken. That's because it's generously coated in a crispy fried skin that will crunch as you bite into it. Is your mouth watering yet? The chicken itself stays nice and juicy, so every bite is intensely satisfying. We really think they did a great job with the texture of this chicken, which is why we keep going back for more. However, when it comes to the flavor, it's not particularly strong or interesting. That doesn't mean it's not good, it just tastes like most of the other batches of fried chicken you've had in your life. If you're just looking for a solid piece of fried chicken, you found it here. We may not have been huge fans of the other desserts on the menu, but that doesn't mean that every dessert at Golden Corral is lacking in taste. In fact, there's one dessert that we like a lot, and that's the banana pudding. When was the last time you had this light and creamy dessert? If it's been a while, you'll definitely want to grab some while you're at the buffet. What we love about this dessert is the fact that it's not heavy at all. It's smooth and creamy, but it's not too rich or overwhelming. We also like the fact that the banana pudding isn't too sweet. It's definitely got some added sugar in there, which helps make it truly taste like a dessert. But it's not so sweet that you'll only be able to take a few bites before setting it down. If you're the kind of person who loves seafood, but wants something that features a bit more flavor and a better texture, you can't go wrong with the fried fish. The fried fish is surprisingly tasty, and we might even make a special trip to Golden Corral just to eat it alone. First of all, the breading on this fish has been fried to perfection, which leaves it with a crispy, crunchy crust. And with that fried, crunchy exterior, you're also getting a lot more flavor. We're not sure if the improved taste comes from more seasonings or simply from the fat the fish is fried in, but we're here for it regardless. Making up your own baked potato at Golden Corral may just be one of our favorite parts of the restaurant as a whole. It all starts with a perfectly cooked baked potato. We suggest adding butter to it first, but that's totally up to you. Then you get to choose from a variety of toppings. Bacon bits are a must if you eat meat, but cheese and scallions are also go-to options. There's something about the ability to choose whatever you want here that will really take your baked potato to the next level. It's a super simple idea, but it's somehow one of our favorite parts of the restaurant and a great way to get people in the door.
So what do you see here at Golden Corral that you don't see at other restaurants?
Crowds.
Surprise! Our favorite dish at Golden Corral is a seafood dish. That's right, the Golden Delicious Shrimp is fantastic. and you have to give it a try as long as you're not allergic to shellfish. While fried shrimp isn't always the best seafood you can get, this stuff is downright delicious. The breading on the shrimp isn't so thick that it overwhelms the seafood, but it is thick enough that it provides a nice crunch to it that you won't get from just any old fried shrimp. The flavor is good too, though that shouldn't stop you from dipping your shrimp in the sauce of your choice. Whatever you choose to eat it with, we can guarantee that you'll be in for a treat when you choose the Golden Delicious shrimp.
Jimmy John's was founded in 1983, and they're giving other chains a run for their money. Ordering can be a challenge though, so we've picked out some of the most popular items on the menu to see what you should avoid and what will be your new favorites. We have to be honest here, the roast beef at Jimmy John's is just not that good. It comes as a surprise to us considering so many of their sandwich meats are delicious. But if you truly love roast beef, you're not going to love Jimmy John's version, and that extends to sandwiches like the Big John. This sandwich features sliced roast beef that's paired with lettuce, tomato, and mayo. However, those 3 extra ingredients are not flavorful enough to make up for the lack of flavor in the roast beef, so the sandwich as a whole is very lackluster even if you modify it with some extra veg. Since it's so basic, we don't know why you would spend your money on it anyway. You could easily make it at home for a fraction of the price, and that way, you could at least make sure the roast beef tasted good. Since we already mentioned that we don't like the roast beef at Jimmy John's, it shouldn't surprise you to see which sandwich nabbed the second worst spot on our list, the Hunter's Club. That's because it too heavily features roast beef. Mayo, tomato, and lettuce are added to this one as well, but it also gets a slight boost of flavor from a slice of provolone cheese. While it may seem like just a little bit of cheese would be insignificant, it really does make a difference in this sub. The flavor of the cheese is strong, and the creaminess adds an extra layer of texture into the mix. That being said, the cheese definitely doesn't make this sandwich worth ordering. With so many other more delicious offerings on the Jimmy John's menu, we don't know why you would even consider this one.
But now I got this Jimmy's John showing up on my turf, telling me that they got the sandwich of all sandwiches. I think not.
If you want one of the most basic, bland, and boring sandwiches available at Jimmy John's, you absolutely have to order the Totally Tuna. One thing that this sandwich has going for it, it seems pretty healthy, and it has a fresh flavor to it that makes it more appealing on a warm day. But don't think that we're endorsing it by any means, as when it comes down to it, there's just not much to the Totally Tuna. The house-made tuna salad is pretty flavorless, and you'll probably just wish you would have made your own tuna salad at home. It doesn't stop there though. There are also veggies layered between the slices of bread, including lettuce, tomatoes, and cucumbers. Honestly, we thought the cucumbers were kind of random. Rather than seeing our sub piled high with cucumbers, we'd rather they included some sliced onion to give the sandwich more of a zing and a stronger flavor profile. There's nothing more enjoyable than finishing a dinner you love and then following it with a bite of your favorite dessert. Luckily for you, Jimmy John's has a few dessert options if you don't want to make another trip just for the sweet stuff. The one dessert option that we really don't like though, the oatmeal raisin cookie. This might be a controversial opinion, but oatmeal raisin cookies are kind of depressing in the first place. You always think they have chocolate chips in them, then you take a bite and are sorely disappointed. The oatmeal raisin cookie at Jimmy John's is no different, and it's dry to boot. What you're left with is a depressing dessert. Bottom line, life is too short to eat subpar cookies. When you're craving a sub, going to an actual sandwich shop is the right move. That is, unless you order the Country Club from Jimmy John's. The Country Club is made with turkey breast and sliced ham, both of which are pretty basic, and neither of which offer an especially interesting flavor. Then comes the provolone cheese and the veggies, including tomato and lettuce. Don't forget some mayo for a bit of added creaminess. We definitely think that the cheese and the mayo are doing a lot of the work on this sandwich. They take it from something bland and unimpressive to something that's just slightly less bland and still relatively unimpressive. It may not be the worst item on the Jimmy John's menu, we wouldn't venture to say that it actually tastes bad, but there's nothing here that would keep us coming back for more after trying it once. Does it come as a surprise that we don't really love a sandwich called the Ultimate Porker? We admit that it doesn't taste bad. After all, when you put bacon on just about anything, it's going to taste better than it did before. But that doesn't mean you should drop what you're doing so you can visit your local Jimmy John's and order this sandwich. Besides bacon, it includes ham, lettuce, tomato, and mayo. While there are some things about this sandwich we love, we think that 2 different types of pork make this menu item kind of overwhelming. There's just so much rich, salty meat that you may not be able to finish the whole thing. At the same time, it probably would have been better if there had been more cheese in place of all that meat. Honestly, the Turkey Tom deserves a special place on this list simply because it might be the simplest sandwich on the menu. The Turkey Tom sandwich comes with sliced turkey, mayo, lettuce, and tomato, and that's about as plain as you can get. On one hand, we love that because we think that this sandwich would appeal to just about anyone. On the other hand, the recipe is so simple that it's not something that will sound interesting to most people in the least. Instead, it's probably better off left for the kids, and you also have to question if it's just easier to buy the ingredients to make this sandwich at home. Yes, it's a bit more work, but when it comes to a sandwich that's this simple, it shouldn't be difficult to throw it together. Here's another roast beef classic for you, the Bootlegger Club. When you order this sub, you'll get a sandwich that's stacked high with both roast beef and also sliced turkey. Of course, we're not really fans of the roast beef at Jimmy John's, so that's why this item didn't rank any higher in our list. But we have to admit that the turkey largely makes up for the lack of flavor and texture you're getting in the roast beef. When they come together, they're not great, but they're not really bad either. As you might expect by this point, this sandwich is also going to come with lettuce, tomato, and mayo. You can and should add on some other free toppings as well, and you need something fresh and interesting to offset all that meat. Now we're getting into some flavor combos that we can't help but like at Jimmy John's. Bacon makes an appearance again on the bun of a Club Lulu. Be honest, just hearing the name of this sandwich brings you joy, right? Well, if you like bacon, there's a good chance you're going to love it when you take a bite. It's not just the bacon though. The salty strips are also paired with the milder turkey breast. Though the turkey breast isn't the most flavorful of options, the two meat ingredients seem to play with each other well in this combo. Veggies and mayo round out this sandwich, giving it the kind of freshness anything with bacon on it needs. If you have to pick out a sandwich for someone and you don't know what they would like, we bet that this guess would be a success. Why don't you give it a try for yourself? Sometimes when you go out to eat, you want to nosh on one of your favorite classic dishes. If that's what you're looking for in your Jimmy John's experience, you might want to consider ordering the JJ BLT. Yes, this is your average BLT, but Jimmy John's attempts to take it to the next level by using a lot, and yes, we mean a lot, of bacon. This sandwich is stacked so high with bacon, you may not even know what to do with it at first. Attack it from the side? Go in from the front? What's the best way to eat one of these things? As you might expect, lettuce and tomato play a crucial role, as does the mayo, which really brings this entire sandwich experience together. While we do think that you're probably capable of making your own BLT at home that won't taste too far off from this one, we still think it's a solid option if you're out on the go and want to grab a tasty sandwich.
I forgot my lunch again.
It's not always necessary to overcomplicate things. Sure, some restaurants are going to push every classic dish to its edge and make it into something new and novel. But when you're going to a chain restaurant like Jimmy John's, that's just not what you're looking for. Instead, you want to stick with the old standbys you already know you love. And what's more classic than a ham and cheese sandwich? Jimmy John's version is called the Pepe, and if you've always loved ham and cheese, this may just be your go-to order from here on out. Veggies make an appearance in this sandwich, which makes it a better option than the ham and cheese you likely had in your lunchbox as a kid. Other than that, it's not much different than the sandwich you've had your whole life. Sure, the oatmeal raisin cookie from Jimmy John's was not our favorite, but that doesn't mean you have to write off the chain's dessert options completely. Okay, there aren't actually that many dessert options, but you don't have to settle for a lackluster oatmeal raisin cookie when you can just snag yourself a chocolate chip cookie instead. Sounds better already, doesn't it? These cookies are even quite moist, and they have that soft cookie feel you know you love. What's not to love about that? If you need to answer your sweet tooth's longings, this is the way to do it. The tuna salad at Jimmy John's may not be out of this world, but when you pair it with a healthy serving of cheese, it comes to life and becomes something we'd actually enjoy eating. So while we weren't big fans of the Totally Tuna sandwich, we could definitely see ourselves ordering the Club Tuna from time to time. The main difference in this sandwich from the Totally Tuna is the addition of cheese. The cheese provides the richness and the creaminess you want from your sandwich, but the tuna salad keeps it light and refreshing. We really like this sandwich, but unfortunately, we couldn't give it higher marks because it still has cucumbers in it. We don't know why Jimmy John's loves their tuna salad with cucumbers so much, but we recommend telling them to leave it off at the beginning. A few years ago, it was hard to find any veggie options at all at most fast food and fast casual joints. Now, you can find veggie options at a ton of chains both across the country and around the world. Luckily for all the veggie lovers out there, Jimmy John's is no exception. The veggie is their answer to the meat-free crowd, and we actually think it's a pretty delicious option if that's what you're into. The main ingredient that makes this sandwich special is the avocado. While you won't find it in many Jimmy John's sandwiches, it makes an appearance here, providing just the right amount of fattiness that you would otherwise get from meat. meat. That avocado is combined with provolone cheese, so sorry vegans, lettuce, tomato, and cucumber. That may not seem like a lot of ingredients, but they really pile this one high, so you know you're getting your money's worth. What kind of sandwich do you bring with you when you go to the beach? Whatever you want, really. But if you ask Jimmy John's, you should bring a beach club along. This is another one of the restaurant's offerings that contains avocado, so if it's one of your favorite ingredients, you're in luck. Except for the addition of avocado, this is a turkey sandwich that's filled to the brim with meat. Of course, you'll also find plenty of mayo, lettuce, cucumber, and tomato for plenty of freshness, which definitely makes this a prime option for those hot summer days. Plus, the fact that the beach club is packed with veggies can make you feel good about the fact that you're eating something that's at least marginally healthy for you. There's also provolone on this sandwich, which we think pairs really well with the avocado. They're both creamy ingredients, and that complements the leanness of the turkey.
Jimmy's John's. Enough with the fresh baked nonsense. Stevie, in front of my bread-like product.
Here is when we start getting into some of the more interesting flavors on the Jimmy John's menu. Let's begin with the Italian nightclub. Before we say anything else, we will mention that this is a great sandwich to end the night with. If you're coming home after a few drinks out, this sandwich is just what you've been looking for. That's because it's packed with all kinds of strong but delicious ingredients, including salami, capicola, and smoked ham. Yes, that's a lot of meat all in one sandwich, but it's balanced pretty well, and none of it overpowers the flavor of the other. The mayo, lettuce, and tomatoes add a nice touch, which you should already expect from all Jimmy John's sandwiches by now. But in this sandwich, you'll also get sliced onions, which takes a normal sandwich and turns it all the way to 10. Next is the oil and vinegar. Both are important ingredients, but the vinegar is what makes this a sandwich you're never going to forget. Finally, top it off with some oregano and basil, and you have an ideal sandwich right at your fingertips. We know what we said about the roast beef at Jimmy John's, and we're going to stand by it. But when it comes to the Billy Club, it seems like Jimmy John's actually did something right. Let's keep things straight though. Yes, this club still has roast beef in it, but that roast beef has been transformed by the addition of the Dijon mustard. These two ingredients are helped out by lettuce, tomato, and mayo, which all break up the strong flavors of the meat and the mustard. When it all comes together, it's one of our favorite sandwiches on the menu despite the lackluster roast beef. For all those who love Dijon mustard and would put it on anything, this could be your sandwich.
Hey, wait, what are you just gonna leave it there? That's like half a pound of turkey.
Oh, no, I can't eat that. You can't eat a sandwich without Dijon.
Yeah, you're right. I really should keep more of your favorites on hand.
There are times when you just want to get a simple sandwich to eat from a sub shop. There are other times, though, when you're feeling so hungry, you feel like you could eat 2 or even 3 sandwiches in one sitting. When that's how you're starting to feel, you may want to check out the JJ Gargantuan at Jimmy John's. Just be warned, you need to know you're getting into a serious sandwich if you choose this option. When you order the JJ Gargantuan, you're going to be getting a ridiculous amount of meat on one sandwich. This sub contains 5 different kinds of meat: turkey, capicola, roast beef, ham, and salami. Basically, any kind of sliced meat you can think of is going to end up on this sandwich. Then onion, lettuce, and tomato are added to the mix, so you're not just getting an overwhelming number of animal products. You'll also find provolone, oil and vinegar, mayo, oregano, and basil in the mix. While this is a delicious menu item, we couldn't rank it any higher because it's a bit unreasonable to eat this on a regular basis. Calling all spicy food lovers, Jimmy John's has just the sandwich for you, and luckily it's one of the best choices on the menu. It's the spicy East Coast Italian, and it'll definitely have you coming back for more once you taste this sandwich for the first time. It comes with a double serving of both capicola and Genoa salami, which aren't deli meats you're likely to find at every sandwich shop. The sandwich also contains provolone cheese, mayo, oil and vinegar, basil and oregano, lettuce, tomato, and onion. Since the meat is heavy and spicy, the vegetables cool the sandwich down and make it even more addictive. Perhaps the ingredient that makes this sandwich something special, though, is the hot peppers. These peppers aren't too hot, so don't worry if your stomach or taste buds are a little bit sensitive. You're probably still going to be okay. Have you ever had a Cuban sandwich before? It's one of the most well-known sandwiches of all time, and there's a reason it's so popular. It's an amazing combo of ingredients you won't want to put down. While you're not going to get a traditional Cuban from a place like Jimmy John's, the restaurant did give us something that we think is close enough: the Jimmy Cubano. For those who love rich, decadent sandwiches, this is the choice for you. It's got bacon and ham that plays well with the sliced pickles that go on top. That's the signature flavor of a Cuban, and this sandwich does it well. Of course, you can't forget the Dijon mustard in this recipe, as it plays a crucial role. That peppery flavor marries all the other tastes together, creating something that tastes almost as good as the real thing. That's why this sandwich has earned the #2 spot. If you could combine the best aspects of all of Jimmy John's sandwiches into one without creating a completely overwhelming flavor profile, then the Vito gets the job done. We love this sandwich so much because it has an intense flavor, but it's still not as busy as many of the other options available on the menu. Salami and capicola are paired with provolone cheese. These are our favorite meats on the menu, and we think they can stand all alone and taste amazing. Lettuce and tomatoes are standard, but the addition of onion makes this choice better than many of the other sandwiches on the menu. Finally, oregano and basil add an Italian flavor to the dish, while the oil and vinegar are hard at work making this sub downright delicious. If you only ever try one sandwich from Jimmy John's, we definitely think this should be the one.
I'm sitting here with the most beautiful thing in the room. Let's get out of here.
Outback may be a low-budget family chain that's big on theme and small on luxury, but you'll be surprised how well its steak compares against much more prestigious brands. When it comes to Sizzler, the cheapest steak on the menu is the 8-ounce tri-tip sirloin. Unfortunately, though inexpensive, this steak turns out to probably not even be worth its roughly $23 price tag. That's right, you have to pay over $20 for a tri-tip sirloin and a side dish, despite the consensus from online reviewers that the steak isn't really all that good to begin with. So what exactly are consumers saying? Apparently, the steak isn't flavorful enough for many reviewers. In addition, a couple of customers claim that the texture of the steak comes out quite tough, even when cooked to medium doneness. We can't imagine what a well-done steak must taste like. Based on online reviews, you may want to skip the chewy, flavorless sirloin served at Sizzler and save your money for a meal that's worth it. Sirloin steaks often have a reputation for being a less desirable cut of meat when compared to other steaks, and Logan's Roadhouse 6-ounce sirloin serves as a prime example of this belief, as reviews from customers haven't been very good. Some customers have blasted the center-cut sirloin as tough, chewy, and overall unenjoyable. One reviewer on Facebook claimed her sirloin tips were dry, which matches a similar Yelp report concerning Logan's traditional sirloin steak. And though affordably priced around $15 for 6 ounces, we aren't sure that attempting to shred a tough, dry, and chewy steak with our teeth is our idea of a bargain at this point. If you decide to take a chance and go with the sirloin at Logan's, you can at least celebrate knowing that you'll be given the choice of 2 sides, along with rolls and the option to upgrade your dish with extra meat, such as shrimp or chicken. But it'll be up to you to decide whether the entree itself is actually worth your dollar. Priced at around $12, the Roadkill steak served at Texas Roadhouse is one of the cheapest steak options on the menu. And not just because it's actually a burger they slipped onto the steak part of the menu. This particular beefy grab is made of chopped steak and is served with 2 sides, sautéed mushrooms and grilled onions, along with jack cheese melted on top for a flavorful dining experience. So what's the problem? Some customers claim the company gets it wrong during preparation, and one even declared that portion sizes are getting increasingly smaller with less of those aforementioned savory toppings. With this apparent decrease in size, the steak sometimes reportedly cooks up differently, causing some patrons who love the dish before the supposed changes were made to be quite unhappy. So are these accusations true? If you order the Roadkill from Texas Roadhouse and come face to face with a small, dry, and scantily clad lump of hamburger meat, you'll know why previous fans of the dish tried to warn you. Hey, at least they have Willie.
For a good night of fun and partying, go to the Texas Roadhouse. They know how to do it right.
This may come as a surprise, but on occasion, the filet mignon, known to be an exceptional cut of meat, may very well be the cheapest item on a steakhouse menu. This is the case at popular Brazilian chain Steakhouse, Fogo de Chão. The filet mignon served at Fogo de Chão sells for around $24 for 8 ounces. The steak doesn't appear to come with any side dishes, which is a bummer but not totally unusual. Nevertheless, many customers who have tried the filet mignon here seem to love it, with one big caveat. Some complain of it being way too salty. That's a matter of personal taste though, so if you happen to like your steak on the salty side, this may be the steak for you. Described on their website as a center-cut filet, the Palm's 8-ounce steak is seasoned with salt and herb-brushed olive oil and served with a sprig of thyme. Since the Palm is considered an upscale restaurant, the pricing reflects its regality, as the establishment charges $58 per center-cut filet.
I'm a steak freak, and I want to see if it's really dry-aged and if it's really prime. And guess what? It's both.
For that price, you'd expect to be getting the best, but reviews are actually mixed. One patron scathingly remarked that everything, including the steaks, came out too quickly and tasted of microwave-quality flavor. Definitely not what you'd expect for a high-end restaurant. Others had quite a different take though, writing that the filet tasted excellent and was cooked perfectly. One thing seems to be true: consistency isn't necessarily guaranteed. Cheap isn't really cheap when it comes to choosing steak options at Morton's the Steakhouse. But though the cheapest steak option at Morton's happens to be around $54, give or take, the filet mignon au jus tastes as delicious as you'd imagine, making the price just about worth it. At least according to reviewers on Yelp, who indeed believe that the 8-ounce filet mignon served at Morton's is well worth its price tag. Customers describe it as having a delectable flavor and being perfectly cooked, something diners have come to expect for a high-quality steak cut like this. It doesn't appear that the steaks come with any sort of side dish, but the ones featured on the menu, like button mushrooms with spinach and sour cream mashed potatoes, seem like they'd pair perfectly with this noteworthy savory steak fillet option. Much like Morton's the Steakhouse, the Capitol Grill features filet mignon as one of its cheapest steaks. But at $55, it's not exactly cheap. Still, that is to be expected when you choose fine dining locations like the Capitol Grill.
We age the beef in-house, we cut the beef in-house. That really gives us control to make sure that we're serving the best steak.
The 10-ounce filet mignon featured on the menu is described by satisfied guests as a winner of a dish. The flavor is reportedly excellent, and when paired with sides like grilled asparagus and mushrooms, it can make for a dining experience fit for royalty. You'll want to note that, like most fine dining establishments, you shouldn't expect to get a free side dish with your filet mignon or other steak options, but rather you order these items separately. Nevertheless, for the cheapest steak on the menu, the filet mignon turns out to be a solid pick, even if the price tag is a bit higher than one might want. Steak and fries evokes memories of an inexpensive menu item at a hole-in-the-wall ma and pa shop. That's why some diners may be surprised to see this entree introduced on an upscale restaurant menu, and even more surprised at the great reviews it has received. Exactly what you get when you order steak and fries at J. Alexander's is a bit of a mystery. The restaurant's menu doesn't mention what type of cut it is, or even what the size is. Still, people seem to like it, even at the roughly $33 price tag. This mystery steak is topped with herbed butter, no doubt making for a savory and juicy bite. Still, there's one important thing to note that holds this dish back. On the menu, there's a warning in the fine print saying that ordering your steak well done or even medium well is not recommended, and there's no guarantee the chefs will prepare it per your request. Between this and the mystery of what you'll be receiving, the steak and fries is recommended only for the most adventurous diners. But hey, either way, at least you know you'll be getting a big mountain of fries, and that's not nothing. According to customers, the petite filet at Mastro's Steakhouse is wonderful, but the size is also quite small, especially considering the price you pay. If you go in particularly hungry, you shouldn't expect to snag an 8-ounce filet as the most affordable option, the way you might at other high-end restaurants. Instead, you'll have to settle for the 6-ounce and still pay a little over $50 for it. Is it worth it? Though there aren't many reviews of it online, a lot of the customer feedback states that the meat tastes great. So if you have a light appetite or plan to load up on side dishes, then the 6-ounce petite filet from Mastro's Steakhouse might be just the pick for you, cooked to perfection.
This place did a medium rare as a perfect medium rare.
The petite filet at Ruth's Chris goes for around $52 for 8 ounces, and according to fans, it's a delicious treat. Like many of the upscale options on this list, $52 may seem like a lot or a little, depending on your frame of reference. Even so, this petite steak is by no means run-of-the-mill, as it's described as tender, juicy, succulent, and delicious. As with many upscale restaurants, don't expect to get a side dish with your steak the way you might at cheaper restaurants, so picking the perfect pair-up for this savory entree may hit your wallet. But there's quite a selection to choose from: sweet potato casserole, au gratin potatoes, cream spinach, and more. Or you can pair your steak with delicious add-ons like shrimp, lobster tail, blue cheese crust, and other tantalizing options. Whatever your choice, the petite filet makes a great starting point to plan the rest of your meal around. Most beef lovers know that sirloin steaks tend to be the least expensive on the menu, and it can often be a roll of the dice as to how good this cut can be. When dining at Outback Steakhouse, however, you have a good chance of scoring a cheaper steak that's also high quality. The center-cut sirloin sold at Outback is known for being a delicious cut of meat, with the phrase "cooked to perfection" thrown around by satisfied customers. The sirloin rings up at around $17 for 6 ounces, though the steak comes as big as 11 ounces for around $23 for people with a hearty appetite. Each steak is dished up with a potato side of your choice, along with your choice of a second side. You can also plus it up by adding grilled onions, mushrooms, butter topping, grilled shrimp, and a variety of other options for a fee per topping. All in all, those sirloin steaks tend to be hit or miss at an inexpensive price point. Reviews from satisfied customers agree the one sold at Outback is a solid option. The fact that it can be paired with either complimentary side dishes or other premium choices is a bonus reason to hit up the chain steakhouse. Another winner at fine dining restaurants, the 8-ounce petite filet mignon at Fleming's is incredible according to guest reports. The steak is priced at $55, which makes it the cheapest steak option on the menu. But according to diners, despite the higher price tag, this steak is apparently utter perfection, with reviewers claiming that it is always cooked perfectly to your exact specifications, and the flavor is consistently off the charts. Customers recommend ordering Fleming's potatoes, a cheesy au gratin side, to pair with your petite filet mignon, and you can also top your steak with enhancers such as herbed horseradish butter, smoked chili butter, or béarnaise butter for added flavor, or pair it with lobster. Other side dish options like the chipotle macaroni and cheese or the flash fried Brussels sprouts are excellent choices to pair with this steak to formulate a meal you'll remember. This savory 8-ounce filet mignon is undoubtedly a top pick. When it comes to top-notch high-end restaurants, most people generally expect a great steak. At Del Frisco's Double Eagle Steakhouse, the expectation is no different, and thankfully, this upscale restaurant delivers. It seems that most establishments of this caliber do quite well when it comes to even the cheapest steak on the menu, and as such, it is no surprise that the 8-ounce filet mignon served here has received stellar reviews. Comments like "ridiculously good," "the best filet I have ever had," and "food from heaven" are all phrases circulating online from satisfied diners, making this filet arguably the most popular and beloved option out there. Expect to get your fill and then some when dining at Del Frisco's. Yes, the 8-ounce filet costs around $55, but guests couldn't be more pleased.
Despite the fact that a milkshake is relatively simple to make, the quality of fast food milkshakes varies greatly, and you should know what you're in for before you order. We did the legwork for you, and here's the best and the worst milkshakes we found. Even if you're in dire need of a milkshake, ordering the chocolate shake from Burger King is a colossal mistake. Everything about this tragic excuse for a treat is an abomination. First of all, Burger King's milkshakes are way too watery. A good milkshake has a satisfying thickness to it, but apparently, this fast food joint didn't get the memo. Beyond its poor consistency, Burger King's milkshakes taste way too much like milk. When you're drinking one of their chocolate shakes, you'll barely be able to tell they added any chocolate to the mix. To make matters worse, Burger King tops their milkshakes with a disgusting substance that is allegedly whipped cream. This yucky whipped cream knockoff has a sourness to it that makes it difficult to swallow. While the milkshakes you can get at McDonald's are much better than what Burger King tries to peddle, they are far from good. McDonald's strawberry shake, like all their milkshakes, has a chemical taste that is simply unappetizing. You might enjoy your first taste, but a few sips later, you will fully understand that you made a mistake. These things are so unnatural that you deserve a medal if you're able to drink down an entire large milkshake. While the strawberry shake isn't good, their chocolate shake is actually the worst of the bunch. The chocolate syrup McDonald's uses is way too strong and way too synthetic. Even if you think that you love all things chocolate, you will be completely turned off by this forgettable milkshake. The only time when you should even think about buying a milkshake at McDonald's is when they're serving the Shamrock Shake. This treat is unique enough that you should try it at least once in your life. If you make an effort to go to Steak and Shake, you would probably guess that their milkshakes are really, really good. It's in the name after all. Sadly, that is simply not the case. The bottom line is that the milkshakes at Steak and Shake just aren't enjoyable. Their Oreo mint shake looks good, but when you taste it, you won't be pleased. This milkshake is extremely minty, so much so that it's completely overwhelming. Instead of a pleasant dessert that helps you survive the day, the Oreo mint shake tastes like its main ingredient is toothpaste. The same lack of subtlety ruins virtually all the other milkshakes on Steak 'n Shake's menu. The over-the-top nature of their milkshakes is also evident when you look at their caloric contents. A regular Oreo mint shake from Steak 'n Shake has more than 700 calories. So if you opt for a large, you'll definitely be so full that you probably won't be able to eat for the rest of the day.
Hey, Dwight. Hey. You want an M&M? No, thanks. I'm stuffed.
The burgers you get at In-N-Out Burger are undeniably delicious. Their burgers are always fresh, and it's obvious that each one is created with great care. Disappointingly, that same care isn't used when it comes to their milkshakes. The vanilla shake tastes like it was rushed. In-N-Out Burger claims they use real ice cream in their milkshakes. And while that is likely the case, that's actually part of the problem. Instead of tasting and having the consistency of a milkshake, this treat tastes like it's simply ice cream in a cup. The vanilla shake is so thick that it's difficult to consume with a straw, so be prepared to use a spoon if you decide to ignore our advice and order a milkshake from In-N-Out Burger. This fast food restaurant has 3 flavors to select from: vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. All 3 flavors are too much like ice cream and can't be recommended. Sonic Drive-In has many sweet goodies that are well worth your money, and this place can truly be your sweet tooth's best friend. Surprisingly though, their mastery of the sugary arts doesn't extend to the world of milkshakes. The Fresh Banana Shake is one of Sonic Drive-In's most popular menu items, but it doesn't come close to meeting the high bar set by their slushes and other desserts. The shake is way too sweet, and though it contains real banana chunks, their texture is, well, chunky. What's more, instead of being soft, the pieces of banana are so fibrous that they will manage to get stuck between your teeth. The pieces can also sometimes be a brownish color, which makes the milkshake an even less appetizing concoction. While Sonic Drive-In has a long list of milkshakes to select from, don't mistake quantity for quality. Ordering a milkshake from Dairy Queen is a risky endeavor. Sometimes their milkshakes are stupendous. Sometimes their milkshakes are gross. You won't know exactly what you'll get until you order it and taste it. Inconsistent mixing is a common complaint when it comes to Dairy Queen, and that's exactly what plagues their milkshakes. At its best, the Hot Fudge Shake from Dairy Queen is spectacular. It's a blend of real hot fudge, vanilla soft serve ice cream, and milk. If the milkshake is mixed properly, it becomes a thick, luscious delight. However, if the mixing process is rushed, it turns into a lumpy mess that tastes like you accidentally left a hot fudge sundae in your car overnight. Relatively new to the scene, Smashburger has been able to make a name for themselves thanks to their yummy burgers that use roasted chicken skin as a secret ingredient. If you love their unique burgers, it's worth driving a few extra miles to get your mitts on one. However, if you're headed to Smashburger to try their wide assortment of milkshakes, you'd be better off saving the gas money and going somewhere closer. Smashburger's milkshakes are average to slightly above average. Considering that they use authentic Haagen-Dazs ice cream in their milkshakes, that fact is a bit disappointing. The peanut butter shake is their best offering, but it's not something that you'll crave. Order it if you're already there, but it's not worth going out of your way. Del Taco isn't the first place you think about when you're daydreaming about acquiring a scrumptious milkshake, but their strawberry premium shake is tasty enough that you should definitely keep it in mind. This treat uses large pieces of strawberries and some exquisite whipped cream to create the best milkshake you will find at a Mexican fast food restaurant. If you aren't as hungry, Del Taco also offers mini shakes. Both their premium shakes and mini shakes are available in strawberry, chocolate, and vanilla. And while the strawberry version is the best, the other 2 are really good too. It's difficult to beat the combination of a mini shake and a taco from Del Taco. For a savory sandwich like Culver's Butter Burger, a milkshake makes a great complement. Luckily, this fast food chain has a multitude of flavorful milkshakes on their menu, and while their mint shake is really good, it's their raspberry shake that stands apart as the cream of the crop. The base of this milkshake is Culver's frozen custard that is made fresh on a daily basis at each location. Culver's was born in Wisconsin, so you can be confident that they use only the highest quality of dairy. Once the custard is ready, milk and raspberries are blended in, and considering Culver's takes care to use the sweetest of raspberries, your taste buds will appreciate that extra effort. Instead of relying on heaps of sugar, Culver's allows the natural flavors to shine in their milkshakes. If other milkshakes from other fast food eateries taste too sweet or too processed to you, go here and you may discover your new favorite dessert. anything that's vanilla. By its very nature, it isn't supposed to be exciting. Vanilla is what you turn to when you're already having a great day and you don't want anything to interrupt it. But Arby's Vanilla Shake is so good that it's actually shocking when you get your first taste. The deep, rich vanilla flavor you are blessed with when you order this milkshake from Arby's is enjoyable to the very last drop. In fact, you may want to order two.
You have a milkshake, and I have a straw.
Well, that's a really big straw.
You should also know that not only does Arby's have a great vanilla shake, they also have an outstanding coffee-flavored milkshake. The Jamocha Shake combines chocolate and coffee. So if you need coffee to start your day, pamper yourself by picking up one of these glorious drinks from Arby's tomorrow morning. If you've never heard of Cookout, don't be ashamed. This fast food chain is only available in 10 states. But if you're ever visiting and see a sign, you must stop by Cookout to try out their amazing milkshakes. While their barbecue and burgers are popular, you can't go wrong with adding any of their milkshakes to your order. But if you want to try the best milkshake Cookout has to offer, it's their blueberry milkshake. Each sip of this treat will cause your taste buds to revel in a state of bliss. Cookout also has a couple of specialty milkshakes that are only available at certain times of the year, and if you see them, definitely get them while you can. Sure, Five Guys has unforgettable burgers and marvelous fries, but their milkshakes are so good that they too deserve top billing. The one flavor you will either absolutely adore or find revolting is their bacon milkshake. Most people love it, but it's not for everyone. If you can't get over the mental image of applewood bacon being added to your dessert, then feel free to skip it. Otherwise, join the rest of us in this bacon-flavored party. Five Guys does their milkshakes a bit different from the competition. They list 10 mix-ins, and you're free to mix and match them without paying extra. Even if you fall head over heels for the bacon, you may want to include other mix-ins in your milkshake. The best chocolate milkshake that you can get from a drive-thru window can be found at Whataburger. Their chocolate shake has a rich chocolatey flavor that will satisfy every inch of your being. You could also get a chocolate malt from Whataburger, and that is equally as mind-blowing. If you've never tried Whataburger's chocolate shake, it's most comparable to a chocolate frosty from Wendy's, which, by the way, is too thick to qualify for this milkshake ranking. When you roll up to the Whataburger drive-thru window, don't be fooled by their new Dr. Pepper shake. Although it sounds pretty good in theory, it's thoroughly disappointing and it gets old fast. Pass on the gimmick and go with the chocolate shake that tastes like it was created in dessert heaven.
Milkshake, please.
Flavor?
Let's say chocolate.
Sure. 3, 2, 1, chocolate.
There's just something so hypnotically mesmerizing about the strawberry ice cream shake that you can find at your local Jack in the Box. It may not have the most genuine strawberry flavor, and Jack in the Box isn't exactly where you turn to find culinary masterpieces, but this stuff is magical. One great aspect about the strawberry ice cream shake is that it always tastes exactly the same, so you'll never be disappointed. In fact, grabbing a strawberry ice cream shake and a few tacos is a fast, affordable, and yummy way to wind down after a night on the town, or really, after any long day. Although there are some downright fantastic milkshakes available out there, none of them can truly hold a candle to Chick-fil-A's cookie and cream milkshake. This treat is what happens when the art of the milkshake has been perfected, and all you need to do is taste it and you'll be a fanatic for life. While Chick-fil-A has other milkshake flavors, chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, and sometimes peach, it's no surprise that this cookies and cream milkshake is the most popular of their flavors. The vanilla base has an intense, deep flavor, and the firm texture of the Oreo chunks provides crunchy pops of euphoria with each mouthful. It's understandable that people love Chick-fil-A for their chicken. That makes all the sense in the world as their chicken sandwiches and nuggets are beloved from coast to coast. But if you go to Chick-fil-A and leave without getting a cookies and cream milkshake, that should be considered an utter disappointment. When the best fast food milkshake in the country is within your grasp, grab it without hesitation.
Starbucks has a staggering menu, so it can be hard to pick a drink. Options from hot to cold, sugary, creamy, caffeinated and non-caffeinated, and names with dragon in them. We're here to help with a ranking of the most popular Starbucks menu items from worst to best. We're sorry to start off by attacking all the Frappuccino lovers out there. If you're in love with these aggressively sweet drinks, then by all means, go for it.
Hey! Get off my sugar! Bad bees! Bad! Ow! Ow!
But for the majority of us who don't like drinking a whole day's worth of sugar in one sip, most Frappuccinos just aren't an option. That's especially true when it comes to the Java chip Frappuccino. It has a shocking 60 grams of sugar, which is bad enough when you consider your health. But it also doesn't taste particularly good either. All that sugar in one drink is just too much for most people's palates. We would say that you could enjoy this drink for a dessert instead of as a coffee, but let's be honest, you'd probably be better off buying a milkshake. The texture is weirdly icy with this Frappuccino too, so it doesn't even satisfy on that front. Our take? Forget the Java chip Frappuccino and try something else on the menu. The pink drink has played a starring role in one of those internet crazes, and it's clear to see why. The drink itself is beautiful, and since it's served in a clear cup, people love taking pictures of it. Those pictures get seen all around social media, and it becomes popular just because of the way it looks. If you've never ordered one of these drinks, though, you may be wondering how it actually tastes. One Reddit user said, "My husband ordered a pink drink for himself, and when he tried it, he said it tastes like an air freshener from Bath & Body Works." We couldn't agree more. While this drink is celebrated for being one of the healthier ones on the menu, the flavor is just way too floral and sickly sweet. If you're looking for a plant-based alternative at Starbucks, you're in luck. First of all, they have all different kinds of plant-based kinds of milk to replace dairy. Whether you like almond milk, oat milk, or soy, they've got you covered. But one drink in particular is likely to catch your eye if you like a healthy dose of caffeine without the cow's milk. The iced chocolate almond milk shaken espresso. Starting off, the espresso in this drink is good. Starbucks does use relatively high-quality beans, so that's no surprise there. But the rest of the drink, we just can't get behind. The chocolate makes the drink a little too heavy right up front. Do you want coffee, or are you in the mood for straight-up chocolate? A lot of people also feel that malt has an unpleasant flavor, and we agree. The addition of almond milk is nice for those who don't drink dairy, but let's be honest and admit that almond milk isn't as good as oat milk. The iced chocolate almond milk shaken espresso may not be the worst menu item, but like a bouquet of withering flowers, we found it to be pretty lackluster. The caramel macchiato may be a popular drink from time to time, but if we're being completely real, it's not good. The main problem with this coffee drink is the incredibly sweet syrup. It's hard to believe how sweet it is. Unless you specify otherwise, Starbucks baristas will use a lot of this syrup too. You can leave it out entirely, but what's the point of ordering it then? The syrup is kind of the star of the show. One thing we do like about this drink, though, is the way the coffee and the milk mix together at the bottom of your cup. It creates a pretty visual contrast and allows you to taste different flavors of the drink separately. Starbucks offers a ton of different breakfast sandwich options. These are perfect for when you want to grab coffee on your way to work, but you didn't get the chance to grab breakfast either. When you're presented with so many options first thing in the morning, however, it can be difficult to choose what you want to eat. Of course, it might occur to you to eat something that's on the healthier side, which is why you may be attracted to the spinach, feta, and egg white wrap. Does it sound good? Definitely. Is it good? Your dog might think so. This is one of the driest fast food meals we've ever had. The wrap isn't flexible at all, breaking easily under the slightest pressure. Meanwhile, the spinach is lackluster and the feta is just kind of sad. Sure, if you need something to eat on the go at the last minute and you want something fairly healthy, this may be an okay option. Just don't expect it to taste very good. We don't want to be too mean to the birthday cake pop from Starbucks. Is it cute? Yes. Does it make our hearts melt a little when we see this tiny bite of cake on a stick? Of course. But would we order it for ourselves? Definitely not. Apart from its look, this pop isn't that interesting. The white cake inside is usually dry, and it's hard to tell how long it's been sitting out, waiting for someone to order it. The frosting on top is basically just a ton of sugar. And it shouldn't surprise you that the sprinkles on the outside do nothing for the flavor. We understand why someone would buy this treat. If you're going through the drive-thru with your child and they want something small to snack on, this is a great choice. Since it's such a plain flavor, most kids probably won't mind it. If you're looking for something that's just as colorful as the pink drink but offers a somewhat more interesting flavor profile, you may want to opt for the dragon drink. If you're wondering whether you should order this one instead of the pink drink, we say yes. Its mango flavor makes it a lot more appealing, and the color is even slightly prettier too. At the end of the day, though, it's still not a drink we recommend. This drink is pretty simple. So simple, in fact, that it's something that you could easily make at home. It may not look exactly how it will when you buy it at Starbucks, but it'll be a lot cheaper and you'll have more control over the ingredients. Overall, it doesn't taste amazing. It's light and refreshing, but the fact that the dragon drink is mixed with coconut milk makes it less so. Unless you just want something to take a pretty picture of, we'd suggest you pass on this stunner too. While we don't have anything particularly bad to say about Starbucks chai tea latte, it's still not something we would order. That's because at Starbucks, you're not going to be getting the best quality tea you can find. So why pay a premium price when you can get better tea elsewhere? The flavor isn't that intense. If you don't sweeten it, it may taste like you're drinking flavored water. That's especially true if you opt for non-dairy milk. Basically, there's nothing special that's happening here. If you're really craving a chai tea latte, then by all means, order this drink. You probably won't be disappointed. If you're going to get the cinnamon dolce latte at any point in the year, we'd recommend you get it in the winter. First of all, it's served warm, so it's sure to get you feeling nice and cozy. Plus, the cinnamon in it adds a comforting element that you won't get from every drink on the menu. It starts with Starbucks' famous espresso, which is definitely a good place to begin if you like a healthy dose of caffeine in your coffee drink. However, we don't love everything about the cinnamon dolce latte. Most notably, we're not fans of the sweetened whipped cream that comes on top. When you first taste it, it's pretty amazing. Once you've had 2 or 3 sips, though, it starts to wear on you. And while you can ask for the drink without whipped cream, that takes away most of what makes it special.
Whipped cream, cherries, and
Nuts?
One thing we absolutely love about Starbucks is that you can always find something healthy to eat. If you're interested in meals that are on the healthier end of the spectrum, you're probably going to be attracted to the chickpea bites and avocado protein box. This is a meal you can grab on the go when you get your afternoon coffee. You'll get the chickpea bites, but it also comes with some mixed veggies and nuts and an avocado spread that adds a lot of flavor. Our problem is that the serving size isn't that big. In fact, it's really more of a large snack than a real lunch. If you just want something small, go for it. But if you're looking for a lunch that will really fill you up, you may be better off with a sandwich or a wrap instead. If you don't want that intense dose of caffeine and would prefer something lighter in the hotter months, then you may look into trying the iced guava black tea. It's cold, it's refreshing, and it still has enough caffeine to get your day off to the best start. The guava flavor is great too. It adds a tropical taste to an otherwise standard tea drink. However, when it comes to the level of sweetness in this drink, they could take it down a notch. It's amazing for the first several sips, but by the time you get to the bottom of your cup, you may feel like you're in sugar overload. If you want a similar situation without all the sugar, you can opt for plain iced black tea instead. While it doesn't have guava flavoring in it, you can still get it slightly sweetened. It's even good if you leave it totally unsweetened. Starbucks offers a lot of options for its iced tea drinkers. A lot of the sandwiches you'll find at Starbucks are lackluster at best. They seem like they're just frozen sandwiches that have been microwaved. That being said, that doesn't mean that there aren't any sandwiches on the menu that you'll enjoy. One you may want to try is the turkey and pesto panini. It comes with thick-cut slices of turkey on a ciabatta roll, which is a great combination. The basil pesto and dry roasted peppers add a lot of flavor, and once you get the cheese pull from the slightly melted provolone cheese, you know you're getting to the good stuff. Despite the pesto sauce, however, it's still kind of dry. We think it would taste better if it had a nice spicy sauce for a little added kick. Luckily for you, Starbucks offers little packets of sriracha sauce if you're dying for that spice too. If you like your sandwiches on the plainer side, though, you may find that this lunchtime treat is already sufficient for your snacking needs. You may think that it's impossible to get something super light and refreshing at Starbucks while still getting the caffeine you crave. Let's face it, just because the weather is toasty outside doesn't mean you don't still need a little spring to your step. That's where the Very Berry Hibiscus Lemonade Refresher comes in. We love this drink because it would be hard to find something that's this refreshing at any fast food place. Plus, it's a beautiful pink color, and it's dotted with blackberries in the drink that complete the look. The best part? It features 45 milligrams of caffeine per 16-ounce serving. That means you're getting a decent dose of the stuff, which can help get your day off to an amazing start. Our only warning here? It doesn't feel or taste like you're drinking something that's caffeinated, so you may be surprised at how much energy you have when you drink this up.
I've got the
caffeine patch. It's my invention. Each patch is the equivalent of 12 cups of coffee. You can stay awake for days with no side effects.
If you're sensitive to caffeine, you may want to order a small. Are you in love with Earl Grey tea? If you consider yourself somewhat of a tea aficionado, you may agree that it's one of the best varieties out there. It has a light and refreshing flavor that makes every sip taste wonderful. However, it's easy to brew this stuff at home, so we wouldn't recommend getting the plain version of it at most coffee shops where you'll pay a premium. Instead, if those are the flavors you're craving, the next time you're at Starbucks, you may want to consider the London Fog Tea Latte. You know you're going to get something special with Italian bergamot blends, citrus, hints of lavender, vanilla syrup, and steamed milk. However, we recognize that this isn't a flavor that everyone is going to love, which is why it didn't end up ranking higher on our list. The Hardee Blueberry Oatmeal is something special. This isn't your average fast food oatmeal. Rather, it has a ton of tasty ingredients that come together in a quick and healthy breakfast that you can grab on the go. It all starts with the whole grain steel-cut oats. Next come the blueberries, as in real blueberries that add not just sweetness but also a touch of tartness as well. This really livens up the whole dish. The dried fruit and nut mixture adds some crunch and texture to the equation, and the drizzle of agave on top completes the meal. Of course, if you have a pet bird, beware, the blueberries just might catch their eye. Are you a fan of strong, bold flavors coming together? Do you like bitterness with just a touch of sweetness? If you answered yes to both of these, you may find that Starbucks Espresso Con Panna is meant for you. It starts with an espresso shot. However, not everyone wants to start their day with this sort of jolt and nothing to temper it out. That's why the sweet whipped cream gets added to the top of the espresso shot for something special. Espresso Con Panna literally means espresso with whipped cream. And yes, it's just as good as it sounds. This treat is ideal for those who are in a hurry and need to get their caffeine fix fast, but who still want it to taste good at the same time. If you've never tried it before, Starbucks is a great place to do so. The espresso and the whipped cream are both pretty high quality, and the end result is sure to make you smile. A few years ago, the flat white had its moment. That flat white craze may have died out, but that doesn't mean it's not still one of the best items on the Starbucks menu. This is a simple drink, so don't expect anything that's too out of the ordinary. It starts with ristretto shots of espresso. Then steamed milk is added to the mix to create a creamy and satisfying drink. When you look down on the top of the drink, you'll notice a single dot of white where the milk was poured in. That's the flat white signature look, and we can't help but enjoy how sophisticated it looks. It may not be the drink for everyone, but if you like your coffee on the simple side but with just a little bit of flair, it's clear that this is an excellent drink option for you. When you're looking for a quick and easy breakfast you can pair with your morning coffee, and you also happen to prefer something on the sweeter side, there's nothing at Starbucks you'll enjoy more than the strawberry overnight grains. It may not be a massive serving, but it's surprisingly filling and delicious to boot. The main base is oatmeal and chia seeds that have been soaked overnight in coconut milk. Add toasted almonds, shaved coconut, and strawberry to the mix, and you can see why this was one of our favorite menu items. Do you want a protein-filled breakfast that tastes amazing and offers you the low-carb experience you've always wanted from a fast food restaurant? You're in luck because the bacon and Gruyere sous vide egg bites may just be the ideal easy breakfast. They're certainly our favorite food menu item at Starbucks. In this snack, eggs and bacon are paired with Monterey Jack and Gruyere cheese for a flavor that's out of this world. Then they sous vide the mixture, resulting in a lovely texture that retains all the flavor of the ingredients. If you need strong coffee first thing in the morning to get your day off to a productive start, we feel the struggle. During those times, you need a drink like the Nitro Cold Brew you'll find at Starbucks.
This soft citrus flavor with these deep syrupy sweet notes that happens naturally in the cold brew recipe.
This stuff is steeped really slowly, which really allows all those delicious coffee flavors to shine. Then it's infused with nitrogen, which makes the drink sweeter without the addition of any sugar. The crema on top is the icing on the cake. It's a thick, creamy layer that makes this drink undeniably indulgent.
You get this beautiful cold crema on top of the cold brew. Sometimes you get a little cold crema mustache, which I think is kind of fun.
There are lots of versions of this drink for you to try, including the honey almond milk nitro cold brew, the salted caramel cream nitro cold brew, and the vanilla sweet cream nitro cold brew. Choose whichever sounds best, or stick to our favorite, the original. At the end of the day, you're going to want a simple iced coffee from time to time. It's amazing in the summer, sure, but really you can drink an iced coffee at any time of the year. There's something satisfying about grabbing an iced coffee, swirling it around so all the ice clinks, taking a long sip, and walking out and into the rest of your day. Another great thing about iced coffee is that you can add anything you want to it, like sweetened syrup, milk, or creamer. When you're faced with something so novel, so creative, so different, you have to give it a try. We did, and we fell in love with Starbucks Salted Caramel Cream Cold Brew. Why? Because it has a combination of salty and sweet flavors that we can't get enough of. Elite Daily has this to say about the Salted Caramel Cream Cold Brew. The salt taste is definitely strong. You can taste it as soon as you put your lips to the lid. I'm a big fan of salty-sweet combos in anything, food or drink, and that's definitely a good way to describe this particular drink. We agree, a lot of salted products have an imperceptible amount of salt in them, but not this one. You can really taste how the competing flavors bounce off each other, offering a unique coffee drinking experience you can't get just anywhere. This is definitely a drink you need to try if you haven't already.
The McDonald's menu is as vast as it is ever-changing, and you might be forgiven for thinking you're spoiled for choice whenever you walk beneath those golden arches. But what should you go for? These are the most popular McDonald's menu items ranked from worst to first. McDonald's has a seriously impressive list of options on its breakfast menu. Indeed, there's a very good reason that when you roll up to the drive-thru on any given morning, there's always a long line of hungry hopefuls itching to get their hands on a McDonald's breakfast. It's quick, budget-friendly, and a staple of the American diet.
I love morning exercises. The music!
And having breakfast at McDonald's when we're done.
Oh, yummy! Let's exercise faster!
In the wonderful world of the McMuffins and the McGriddles, there's absolutely no reason you should be reaching for the breakfast burrito. This grab-and-go item is described as a sausage burrito that's loaded with fluffy scrambled egg, pork sausage, melty cheese, green chilies, and onion. What you're more likely to receive is an uninspired, sad-looking flour tortilla filled with a hodgepodge of hastily thrown-together breakfast foods. Let's just say there's a reason they hawk them in orders of 2. The breakfast burrito gives burritos a bad name, sullies the stellar reputation of the McDonald's breakfast, and, most importantly of all, can be easily replicated and improved if you just make it at home. Pass. The fillet of fish may be considered to be an iconic McDonald's menu item, but it's pretty hard to see why. Featuring a slab of fried Alaskan pollock and a heap of tartar sauce, this sandwich was introduced over 50 years ago as their first non-beef option, mostly to appeal to Catholics during Lent. It's since become a staple of their menu and is today loved by many. Unfortunately, mass-produced fast food and the catch of the day tend not to go hand in hand. And sure, there is a lane for fast food seafood, but only as a specialty in places such as Captain D's or Long John Silver's. With McDonald's, not so much. Perhaps most baffling of all, however, is the inexplicable decision to include a slice of processed cheese, which only serves to overpower any flavor coming from the actual fish. What were they thinking? There's nothing more American than apple pie, but what they serve at McDonald's is a far cry from the classic slice of the good stuff you're probably imagining right now. According to the company, McDonald's baked apple pie features 100% American-grown apples and a lattice crust with sprinkled sugar. It's easy to eat on the go, yes, but is it worthy of your appetite? Not quite. Let's start with consistency. When you bite into the pastry, you're likely to be met with a mouthful of pastry that's all flake and no apple. Worse still, there's a good chance you'll burn your mouth on it, Hot Pocket style. There's a reason they put that warning on the label, you know. Honestly, if your heart is still set on the classic American comfort of an apple pie, you'd be better off pairing it with their sundae for a twist on apple pie a la mode. The Sausage McMuffin is what happens when you mess with a classic. The original Egg McMuffin is a straight-up icon in the fast food world, thanks to that slight hint of saltiness from the Canadian bacon, working in perfect harmony with a freshly toasted English muffin and that ooey-gooey cheese. The second you substitute it with a sausage patty, though, something goes horribly awry. The pork sausage patty used in the McDonald's Sausage McMuffin brings with it a slight hint of spice. This might not be inherently problematic, but when that is combined with cheese and a bun in the form of a muffin, it all starts tasting too much like a standard burger, and that's not something anyone wants to devour at the crack of dawn. You might find that the sausage patty works much better when it's complemented with a warm and flaky biscuit. Problem solved. McDonald's chocolate shake is a perfectly harmless addition to their dessert offerings. A heap of soft serve is mixed with chocolate syrup and topped with whipped cream. As you may have noticed though, this is not a milkshake in any way, shape, or form. The reason behind this is that dairy regulations are varied depending on the state you're in. Because of this, a milkshake must contain a certain amount of milk to actually be classified as one. So while McDonald's shakes do contain milk, it's not actually enough. Still, the chain's chocolate shakes are a fine way to beat the heat and satisfy your sweet tooth. This one isn't super chocolatey, as they add just the right amount of chocolate syrup to the mix. It's actually almost light to taste, mimicking the consistency found in a classic black and white shake. The whipped cream doesn't hurt either. Is it the best shake you'll ever have? Not by a long shot, but it does the trick, and sometimes that's all you need. The classic McDonald's hamburger is where it all started, not only for the company itself, but also for many of us, as this is the meal that is so often the first taste people get of McDonald's.
I've got a Happy Meal!
Nobody can do it like McDonald's can.
As such, the Happy Meal is bound to have strong emotional attachments for most people. The smiling packaging opens to reveal a hamburger, kid-sized version of those world-famous fries, a handful of fruit pieces, and a toy, arguably the best part when you're a kid. After all, who doesn't love that element of suspense and anticipation as you'd open up your box to reveal your latest prize? You'd be forgiven for still being mesmerized by the Happy Meal to this day, and it's not just because of the limited edition toys they've been rolling out for decades. Truth is, this is a well-rounded and balanced option that's not too far on the heavy side, making for a tasty and economical snack. The McDonald's cheeseburger has been around since pretty much the dawn of time. Okay, maybe not that long, but it's certainly been a long-standing staple on the restaurant's menu, as well as a huge part of why McDonald's has become as dominant in the industry as it is today. It all begins with a 100% all-beef burger patty that's seasoned simply with salt and pepper. Placed on a standard bun, the burger is then topped with American cheese, chopped onion, ketchup, mustard, and those signature tangy pickles. Sure, it's simple, but it's also delicious. While the cheeseburger may not be the show-stopping wow moment your taste buds may be craving, you at least always know what you're gonna get with this one. Also, it doesn't hurt that at only 300 calories, the cheeseburger will curb your burger craving without obliterating your daily calorie intake. Never change, little guy. Here's the thing. There's something both familiar and comforting about McDonald's Chicken McNuggets. Every bite will conjure up a wave of nostalgia and instantly transport you back to your childhood. Much like the classic cheeseburger, you know exactly what you were getting here, a salty and crunchy coating which gives way to a meaty center. While McDonald's has offered other poultry dishes over the years, the nuggets remain the most famous of all. They also go wonderfully with the chain's tangy sweet and sour sauce, and can certainly pack a punch with a nice dunk in their buffalo sauce too. In the grand scheme of fast food chicken, these chicken nuggets won't hold a candle to what you'll find at Checkers or KFC, however, as they're not exactly earth-shattering in the flavor department. But people would probably launch a full-scale rebellion if they were ever taken away. Doesn't that say it all?
How do you know you're gonna love the taste of these fries? That's how.
There's a reason these are considered the world's most famous French fries. In their ideal form, whole potatoes are sliced and then cooked to golden brown perfection in McDonald's own blend of vegetable oil. They are then generously salted before being presented in all their crunchy glory. Of course, that's if things go well. In their less than ideal form, basically if they're cold, McDonald's French fries are nothing less than monstrous. As the fries cool, they quickly morph into petrified, sad potato sticks that can't even be saved by a little ketchup or some other dip. It happens, and it's always a tragedy when it does. Do everyone a favor, McDonald's. Keep those French fries as hot as the sun itself, yeah? The new millennium brought a lot into our lives, including a marvel in the fast food industry, McDonald's line of McGriddles. Introduced in 2003, this menu item pioneered a new, totally unique breakfast sandwich. On paper, it doesn't sound like it has any shot of working, but after one bite, you'll probably understand what all the fuss was about. Available in several varieties, including bacon, egg, and cheese, the classic sausage McGriddles feature warm griddle cakes with the taste of sweet maple that hold a savory hot sausage inside. If you're lucky, you'll be presented with a sausage McGriddles breakfast sandwich that is as hot and fresh as you'd expect. Unfortunately, after a few bites, you might find the flavors to fall a little on the dull side. In most cases when this happens, you could always shake things up with some sauce, but there aren't really any that work too well with the McGriddle. You don't add ketchup to a pancake after all. In the end, that uninspiring flavor profile and the McGriddle's relative dryness might have you jumping ship before you finish. If you really love the in-your-face battle of sweet and savory, however, then this one has your name written all over it. Count yourself lucky if you ever find a McDonald's with a working ice cream machine, as these days it's getting increasingly difficult to find a location with one in operation. If you do happen to strike gold, however, then you can get your hands on their famous McFlurry. Introduced in 1997 and a favorite of many, the McFlurry takes your favorite candy and blends it with ice cream, resulting in a cold and creamy flavor explosion. It even comes with a funky-looking spoon. Not all McFlurries are created equal, however, and the McFlurry with Oreo cookies will always rise above the rest. Unfortunately, even this variant is susceptible to inconsistencies, and McFlurries are often blended incorrectly, leading to a wildly uneven distribution of ice cream to candy. On the bright side, that doesn't make them any less delicious. Soft serve is always a great treat, and the candy is a huge bonus. All in all, the McFlurry can be a real winner if Lady Luck is on your side. Behold, the mighty Big Mac, McDonald's true claim to fame and one meaty giant to boot. Introduced in 1967, the Big Mac has since become synonymous with the chain and a favorite of fast food fans all across the globe. Let's break this one down. The Big Mac takes two 100% all-beef patties with Big Mac sauce and sandwiches it between 3 layers of a sesame seed bun. It's topped with shredded lettuce, chopped onion, pickle chips, and finally 2 slices of American cheese. There's definitely a lot going on here. And here comes the controversy. The Big Mac is in fact a swing and a miss for McDonald's burgers. Truth is, this sandwich is inherently flawed in the meat to cheese to bun ratio. Each and every bite brings a mouthful of bread with only a little bit of meat, and the whole thing is too big to begin with, unless you're really starved. It might be anathema to fans of the Golden Arches, but there are much better burgers on the McDonald's menu than the Big Mac. Hotcakes may not qualify as a grab-and-go option as far as the McDonald's breakfast menu is concerned, but it's absolutely worth carving a few extra minutes out of your day to try one. An order of hotcakes comes with 3 golden brown hotcakes with a slice of real butter and sweet maple-flavored hotcake syrup. With any luck, those pancakes will arrive piping hot with a hugely generous portion size, especially for such a low-costing item. They're light, fluffy, and taste a lot like the pancakes you'd order from a proper diner. And sure, the hotcakes may not be your go-to whenever you go to McDonald's, but have some faith. You may just be pleasantly surprised. Much like the chicken or the egg debate, the origin story of the McChicken versus McNuggets may leave you a little perplexed, but the scoop is that the McChicken actually came first, in 1980 to be exact. This proved to be a major disappointment in the sales department, however, and the item was quickly nixed. The silver lining? The McChicken's failure actually inspired the release of Chicken McNuggets. Because of the success that followed the McNuggets release, the chain brought back the McChicken in 1988, then took it away for a while before it eventually made its glorious return in the late 1990s. This classic menu item consists of a chicken patty topped with shredded lettuce and a dollop of creamy mayo, all brought together on a lightly toasted bun. It's simple, straightforward, and most importantly, delicious. Throw in a bargain price tag and you're looking at a real winner. You might be thinking it's crazy to rank a soft drink so high on a list like this, but don't panic, because this isn't any ordinary Coca-Cola product. The secret behind McDonald's Coca-Cola all comes down to the company's meticulous methods of soda temperature control. There's no crazy secret recipe here. Instead, the soda syrup is delivered to them and stored in stainless steel tanks that help to regulate its temperature and air levels, as well as minimizing any exposure to light. All 3 have a major impression on the product and can quickly degrade the flavor. The water that's then filtered through the soda machine is also kept at a chilly temp to further maintain its integrity. This is exactly why every sip of McDonald's Coke is so much better than it is anywhere else. The McDonald's hash brown is an absolute must-have if you're stopping by for breakfast. With just 8 ingredients, these glorious potato nuggets have been on the menu since the 1970s, having arrived just a few years after the breakfast menu made its debut.
McDonald's hash browns may be a little funny looking, but they sure taste great with your favorite breakfast.
Made primarily from shredded potatoes, the chain's hash brown patties are soft on the inside and enveloped in a crispy, toasty exterior that is generously dosed with salt. It's pure delight in a paper sleeve. They're incredibly consistent, too. Unlike its sibling, the French fry, hash browns are even delicious when they've cooled to room temperature. Pro tip: ask for buffalo sauce on the side and allow your mind to be blown. You're welcome. Everyone knows there's a pretty big difference between the McDouble and the double cheeseburger. Sure, they both feature 200% all-beef patties, seasoned with salt and pepper and topped with pickle slices, chopped onion, ketchup, and mustard. But here comes the biggie. The McDouble only has 1 slice of American cheese sandwiched between the 2 beef patties. On the other hand, the double cheeseburger elegantly stacks its 2 beef patties with 2 slices of cheese. The winner is clear, don't you think? And here's a bonus. The double cheeseburger clocks in at 25 grams of protein and just 450 calories, making it one of the less heavy-duty big burgers on McDonald's menu. Okay, so the oldies may often be the goodies, but this newbie is a real showstopper. The battle of fast food chicken sandwiches is a fierce one indeed, and McDonald's entered the ring with guns blazing. Launched in early 2021, the spicy crispy chicken sandwich features a fried chicken breast topped with pickles and a mayo-based pepper sauce, all sandwiched in between a buttery potato roll. Honestly, this sandwich could easily pass as a menu item from a full-service dining location. The chicken has a nice, crunchy exterior and seems to be freshly prepared. There's also a welcome level of spice from the sauce that is rare in the fast food world. It's also interesting to note that the restaurant created a new bun just for this sandwich, as well as a special crinkle-cut variety of pickle. Kudos on this one. In the world of fast food breakfast, nothing has continually impressed time and time again like the McDonald's Egg McMuffin. Introduced in 1971, this was the first ever quick-service restaurant breakfast sandwich and is still the king of the jungle to this day. What was dreamt up as a crazy idea to mimic an Eggs Benedict on the go has become one of the most beloved breakfast items of all time. The Egg McMuffin features an iconic square of egg with American cheese and a slice of Canadian bacon, all sitting on a toasted English muffin. It's utterly delicious, and at just 300 calories, it's not too heavy-hitting either. More than that, though, there's just something about those blissful bites of cheese. The way they somehow melt off the sandwich and still get stuck to the paper wrapping. Pure nirvana. The burger is what landed McDonald's on the map, and it only makes sense that they eventually perfected it. Enter the Quarter Pounder with cheese. This 100% all-beef, 4-ounce fresh patty is impressively cooked to order and seasoned with a dash of salt and pepper before being grilled to perfection on a flat iron top. It's topped with slivered onions, pickles, and 2 slices of melted American cheese, one on the top and one on the bottom, that's loaded onto a sesame seed bun. McDonald's has nailed it here. They've finally achieved the perfect bun-to-meat ratio, with 4 ounces of beef holding up its own against the sturdier sesame seed bun. The quality is apparent in every bite, and the use of 2 slices of cheese is inspired. Where's the beef? Why, it's at McDonald's, of course. Don't sleep on this one.
For a restaurant that specializes in burgers, the best thing on the menu at Hardee's might surprise you. Keep watching to find out what you've been missing all your life. Let's be clear, while Hardee's offers a lot of different kinds of food, the focus of this place is on hamburgers.
Owning property is overrated! Owning Charbroiled Burgers is 5 out of 5 stars!
The restaurant does that well, but we guess they felt like they needed to expand their boundaries, and that's how we ended up staring at the beef taco salad on the menu. As you could probably assume, it's definitely not the most delicious salad in the world. The bowl is made with a flour tortilla when a corn one would arguably be better and more flavorful. The lettuce has a tendency to be sad and wilted, the refried beans are often clumpy, and you might get way too much sour cream on top of the whole thing. Look, fast food salads usually aren't particularly good, so if you really want a good salad for lunch, we urge that you just drive right past Hardee's and go somewhere else. One day, we hope to find a delicious fast food hot dog, but alas, that day has yet to come. It's definitely not happening when you order the jumbo chili dog from Hardee's. This hot dog comes covered in beef chili, mustard, and onions. And that's it. The chili isn't particularly tasty here, so it doesn't add much to the entree. While the onions add a nice crunch and a bit of flavor, we wish that there was some cheese involved with this chili dog too. And when you get to the hot dog itself, well, we weren't impressed on that front either. The meat isn't very flavorful. It basically feels like you're biting into a textureless tube. And even though this dog is described as jumbo, it's not really that big. If you're like us, you'd have to order something else just to feel full after chowing down on one of these dogs. It should come as no surprise that a fast food fish sandwich at a restaurant like Hardee's comes in quite shy of a perfect ranking. In fact, if you didn't have to order this sandwich by name, you may not even realize it has fish in it at all. In our experience, it tends to come out looking like a piece of chicken. The fish has a uniform-looking shape, and it's covered in thick breading. Unfortunately, the breading turns out to be the best part of the equation. The fish itself isn't even flaky. Overall, it's pretty tasteless. The breaded fish is presented on a seeded bun with a piece of lettuce and tartar sauce. The lettuce adds a touch of freshness, but we wish there were more veggies added into the mix. The tartar sauce is surprisingly good, but not as good as the stuff you'll find on the fish fillet at McDonald's. This lackluster sandwich isn't disgusting, it just doesn't have much going for it that's all that appealing.
We love a good grilled chicken sandwich every now and then, but the charbroiled barbecue chicken sandwich you'll find at Hardee's is just not it. The actual chicken itself is super flavorful. The fact that it's charbroiled is a major plus, lending it a wonderful smoky flavor you won't be able to get enough of.
What are you talking about? I'm talking about chicken. With no antibiotics. Never. Okay. Charbroiled. Sealing the flavor.
But our real problem with this sandwich has to do with the barbecue sauce that's slathered all over the top of the chicken. It leaves a lot to be desired. It's too sweet and it throws off the balance of flavors in the whole dish. Plus, it doesn't even come with a slice of cheese on top, which might add a few more interesting things to the sandwich flavor profile. While we appreciate that this sandwich comes decked out with veggies, they just can't compete with the overwhelming flavor of the barbecue sauce. Unless you want a sandwich that's completely overtaken by one distinct smoky sweet flavor, we think you should pass this one up. If you're looking for something that's on the simpler side compared to some of the other items on the menu, you might be attracted to the Big Hot Ham and Cheese. When you order this sandwich, you're going to be getting a lot of meat. But once you actually start eating this sandwich, there's a good chance you're going to get tired of it fast. That's because it's a lot of the same experience, bite after bite. All that you'll find on this sandwich is sliced ham and Swiss cheese. Literally nothing else. We think some Dijon mustard and onions would take it to the next level, but you'd have to add that yourself. If you want that same taste but with a less overbearing amount of meat, we recommend trying the original hot ham and cheese instead. It's a little more reasonably sized. While the monster roast beef might be a step up from the Big Hot Ham and Cheese, it's still not a winner in our books. As implied by the name, this sandwich contains just an obscene amount of animal products, including bacon, all stacked on top of each other. That may sound great to the biggest carnivores out there, but even they might start to think it's too much by the time they get halfway through the sandwich. The one thing that saves this sandwich from ranking even lower, the au jus sauce. Now that is actually really delicious. We get it. Sometimes you just want something small to eat in between meals or even when you're just not that hungry. For times like these, the small hamburger at Hardee's might seem like just the ticket. It's not that much food, but it might just sate your hunger for a short time. However, there's nothing that makes this sandwich interesting at all. That doesn't make it bad per se, just boring. The exception, even the pickiest eaters might find this burger to be pretty inoffensive. The chicken grilled burrito at Hardee's isn't impressive. The main problem with this burrito is the fact that it's filled to the brim with refried beans. We don't mind some beans in our taco, but we don't really want that to be the star of the show. The grilled chicken is sparse, but when you do get a bite of it, it's not bad. The rice, cheese, and salsa add an interesting touch, but it's not enough to earn this burrito a higher spot on our ranking. Although it's definitely an original idea, the loaded omelet biscuit from Hardee's isn't particularly well executed. This omelet is packed with bacon, sausage, ham, and cheddar cheese. That's a lot of meat. In fact, it's so much that the meat fully becomes the star of the show instead of the egg. We wish this omelet was a bit eggier, but that just wasn't the case in any of the biscuits we tried. While those meats all taste great, it gets a bit overwhelming after a while. When all that meat is combined with the dense biscuit, this turns into a very heavy breakfast. It might not be bad after a night out on the town, but we just don't think it's the most delicious thing to have first thing in the morning. Every once in a while, you'll want to end your meal with something sweet. Or if you've made your way to Hardee's in the morning, you may want to get your day off to a sweet start. Whatever the case may be, the cinnamon roll might seem like a viable option. If that's what you're craving, we say go for it. But just be warned, it's probably not going to be the best cinnamon roll you've ever tasted. You didn't really expect that from Hardee's though, did you? The cinnamon roll at Hardee's, like many cinnamon rolls out there, is ridiculously sweet. If you have a really aggressive sweet tooth, you may like it. Otherwise, it may be a better idea to share it with someone so you don't have to eat all that sugar at once all by yourself. Also, the cinnamon flavor isn't too strong, which could leave you feeling mildly disappointed. Perhaps what Hardee's is best known for is their thick burgers, but we aren't huge fans of the bacon and cheese thick burger. The burger itself is fine. That's not the problem, and it's an improvement over an earlier rendition of this thing that was just swimming in ranch. Overall, lettuce isn't the best thing that Hardee's pulls off, and the bacon and cheese thick burger suffers from just too much lettuce that takes away what should be a nice mix of flavors. It's fine for the most part, but you can do so much better. When it finally comes time for dessert, you have some decisions to make. What do you want to eat? If you love frozen sweet treats, then you may have a difficult time deciding whether you want ice cream or a shake. Well, at Hardee's, you don't have to choose. They have the hand-scooped ice cream shake, and it's the only frozen treat on the menu. These shakes come in 3 different flavors: strawberry, vanilla, and chocolate. As you may have guessed, vanilla is pretty boring, but strawberry and chocolate aren't bad. These shakes aren't anything special, but considering there's nothing else like it on the menu, it's a good option if that's what you're craving. The shakes are super thick, so they're not something you'll finish in a few minutes. This is a burger unlike any other on the menu. The unique combination of ingredients may be strange, but it certainly doesn't taste bad. When you order the Frisco Angus burger, you'll be getting a beef patty, crispy bacon, and Swiss cheese on toasted sourdough bread. We love the fact that this burger isn't served on an average bun. It makes things more interesting and unexpected. The addition of mayo and tomato is really what sets it apart though. While you might expect to see lettuce as the only veggie on a burger, it's unusual to see a tomato and nothing else. While it's very rich and indulgent, there's something about that tomato that gives it a touch of freshness we love. At the same time, this isn't a sandwich that we'd order over and over again. You know the deal. You'll find chicken tenders at pretty much every single fast food restaurant you go to, and overall, they taste really similar to each other. However, some places do chicken tenders better than others, and Hardee's is one of those places. Their chicken tenders, which come in 3, 5, 10, 15, or 20 count sizes, are super juicy. The breading still has that crispness you're looking for. It's easy to eat several in a row, and even the pickiest eaters are likely to enjoy them. Wondering why the tenders didn't rank higher if they taste so good? Well, in general, we think tenders are a pretty boring order. Even if they're amazing, they can only be so good. But as far as chicken tenders go, the ones that you can get from Hardee's are pretty good indeed. If you want the same kind of flavor profile as the small hamburger but with more food, then your best bet may be, surprise surprise, the big cheeseburger. This burger is larger and also features a slice of American cheese that adds a nice texture. What really makes it taste great is the addition of chopped onions. What else can we say? If you're eating out at Hardee's, this is a solid option. Generally, when you visit a fast food restaurant for breakfast, don't you often want something that resembles more of a real breakfast? You know, one you would make at home if you had the time to do that in the mornings? That's where the Hardee breakfast platter comes in. Just be warned, if you order this for breakfast, you may not be hungry for the rest of the day. It comes with biscuits and gravy, bacon, and hash browns. All of these individual breakfast items taste amazing, especially the biscuits and gravy. In addition, it comes with 2 folded eggs, and that's our only complaint with the platter. The folded eggs have a strange texture and don't necessarily taste like eggs. However, we'll deal with these strange eggs if we get to enjoy all the other amazing breakfast items on the platter. Unlike some less nutritious breakfast options, this platter will fill you up.
Also, how could you eat an entire box of Pop-Tarts and still be this hungry?
The Monster Biscuit is the second most filling breakfast you can find at Hardee's. This thing is absolutely massive. In between the 2 buttery biscuit layers, you've got bacon, sausage, sliced ham, folded egg, and 2 slices of American cheese. We'll start by stating the obvious. This breakfast sandwich is incredibly heavy, and you probably shouldn't order it unless you're feeling super hungry. With all that meat, it can definitely weigh you down. But if you're absolutely starving and aren't doing much for the rest of the day, it's a delicious choice. While all those meats are a bit greasy, the biscuit holds them together surprisingly well. And if you need a little something extra, we recommend asking for a ketchup packet and spreading it on one of the biscuits. We know, it's not for everyone. But that touch of sweetness can definitely make this breakfast sandwich even more appealing than it already is. You don't always want something heavy from a fast food restaurant, but when that's just what you're craving, you definitely can't go wrong with a double Western bacon cheeseburger from Hardee's. The sandwich might be a little over the top, but it's pretty delicious at the same time. In addition to 2 beef patties, you'll also get bacon, melted American cheese, and a savory barbecue sauce all on a toasted bun. That's not it though. The very best part of this burger is the 2 onion rings that add some crunch and sweetness to the mix. We love the idea of putting onion rings on a burger, and Hardee's does it well. We might recommend doing that anyway with a regular burger and a side of onion rings, but it's nice that Hardee's has a version of this genius combination ready to go on the menu. That way, we don't have to do the dirty work ourselves. If you want to get your day off to a simple start, you can't go wrong with the Sunrise Croissant. It's a butter croissant bun with a folded egg, cheese, and sliced ham, bacon, or sausage. The sliced ham might provide a lighter breakfast, while the sausage patty is going to pack that umami flavor and tends to be a bit heavier. While there's nothing too out of the ordinary about this breakfast sandwich, the components all come together really well, and sometimes that's all you need to make a great order of fast food. When you're going to a fast food joint that's known for its burgers, you may just have to stick with some of the simpler items on the menu. This will give you a good idea of what the chain does well. When you choose the famous star with cheese from Hardee's, you're choosing what this chain does best. This is just a classic cheeseburger, but it's done in the best way possible. It all starts with the seeded bun, which creates the perfect bed for all of the other ingredients. Then you have the beef patty, the melty, creamy American cheese, lettuce, tomato, onions, dill pickles, and mayonnaise. There's also the special sauce, which is what truly takes this burger to the next level. We love that this burger is so hearty yet still so fresh at the same time. All those veggies add a lot of crunch and flavor, and that pairs with the rich, indulgent burger patty and cheese perfectly. Now, here's something you don't see every day: the pork chop and gravy biscuit. If you're looking for a Southern favorite first thing in the morning, you are going to fall head over heels for this biscuit. The pork chop is surprisingly juicy, so luckily, the thick, dense biscuit soaks up all of that fatty goodness. We also love that this pork chop comes out breaded. The real magic is in the gravy, though. The sausage gravy adds a little creaminess, but also a ton of flavor that does wonders paired with the pork. The original Angus burger might sound a lot like the famous star with cheese, but we definitely think that this one has something special going on. It has all the classic toppings like American cheese, lettuce, tomato, onions, and pickles, and condiments, which include ketchup, mustard, and mayonnaise. All of these flavors mix and meld together really well, but what really sets this burger apart from the famous star with cheese is the potato bun, which makes the sandwich luxurious. The pillowy soft bun is super hearty, so it holds all of the other ingredients well. Just a word of warning, this sandwich gets pretty saucy, so it's not necessarily the best thing to eat when you're on the go. The Hot Honey hand-breaded chicken and waffle sandwich is our favorite item from Hardee's. This sandwich features a thick chicken patty that's breaded to absolute perfection. It's surrounded by warm Belgian waffles that have just the slightest hint of sweetness to them. The best part, though, is right there in the name, hot honey. A sauced-up honey is all the rage of late, and Hardee's has managed to make this work where others have failed. Chicken and waffles is a classic dish, but we love how Hardee's turned it into a sandwich. It could be eaten for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, so there's no need to skip out on this one just because of the time of day. If you want to taste something that's seriously creative and out of the ordinary when you go to Hardee's, then give this hot honey concoction a whirl. It might just make you rethink your Hardee's expectations.
Which pasta dish is an easy top 5 pick at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse? And which lobster meal should you avoid in order to dodge disappointment? Let us know your favorites and keep watching for the best and worst things you can order. Is there anything more depressing than a wedge salad? Don't get us wrong, we love salads, and that's why we feel the need to call out this abomination of a side dish. The lettuce wedge is incredibly simple, and not in a good way. First, you'll get some crunchy, watery lettuce that's hardly appetizing if you're the kind of person who generally enjoys salads. That lettuce comes with blue cheese and bacon on top. When you order a big hearty steak, you should want your side dishes to do a good job complementing the star of the show. And because steaks can be so heavy, you're probably on the lookout for a light and refreshing side. So why on earth would you want your veggies completely doused in dairy products and meat? It just doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
Ruth's Chris Steakhouse is far from the cheapest chain restaurant around, so it might feel like a special occasion every time you go. You're paying for access to delicious, well-cooked steaks after all. So why would you order the stuffed chicken breast instead? We understand that not everyone wants to eat red meat all the time, but this entree is simply not the right choice in that scenario. The breast is definitely the least flavorful kind of chicken you can choose. This particular breast is stuffed with garlic, herb cheese, and lemon butter, which instantly has us snoring. It's something you could easily make at home, that is, if you could be bothered to whip up something this bland. Ruth's Chris has so many incredible cuts of meat, so don't sell yourself short by opting for the chicken breast. We love a good seafood appetizer, but if you're wondering whether you should order the calamari from Ruth's Chris, we're here to tell you that the answer is no. It's not because we don't like calamari. When it's done well, there's nothing better. But the calamari at Ruth's Chris is simply not the best. The squid is lightly fried, but somehow it's still way too greasy. When you order seafood, you probably want something on the lighter side. So this clearly isn't ideal. It's paired with a sweet and spicy chili sauce that's really more sweet than it is spicy. And the worst part is that it's super rubbery, making it hard to even finish chewing a piece once you take a bite. It's decidedly not the ideal calamari situation.
I'll baptize that piece of calamari!
If you're like us, a sweet potato casserole makes you think of fun times with family, gathered around a table at the holidays. It may be a side dish, but it's also sweet enough to pull off double duty as a dessert. So when you see the sweet potato casserole on the Ruth's Chris menu, you may be tempted to give it a try. But you should know that it's not one of our favorite sides available. First of all, there's the texture. It's way mushier than you might expect, almost to the point of being a liquid. Then there's the lack of flavor. It almost tastes like no spices were used at all. Finally, add in the weird soggy topping, and it's a side dish that we'd rather just avoid. Don't worry though, as there are other tasty potato options on the menu.
Potatoes. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
We don't want to talk too poorly about lobster mac and cheese because it's one of those modern-day comfort foods that seriously hits the spot when you need it to. How can you not love lobster, cheese, and pasta all in one dish? But when it comes to the lobster mac and cheese at Ruth's Chris, we're a little less than impressed. It's just such a basic dish. There's simply no strong flavors in the mix, so it all ends up being quite blah. Lobster, pasta, and cheese can already be light on the flavor, so we wish there was a bit more going on. If you're truly craving some amazing lobster mac and cheese, you can easily find another restaurant where they serve the good stuff. So instead, focus on what Ruth's Chris does best. While we're grateful that there are salads on the menu at Ruth's Chris, their chopped salad isn't anything to write home about. It's better than the lettuce wedge, but that's not saying much. The chopped salad is about as boring as they come. Atop a bed of lettuce, you'll find mushrooms, bacon, egg, and olives. If that sounds like it's missing a lot of delicious veggies, you're not wrong. It's also got blue cheese and a basil dressing on top, but they don't do much to make it better. Again, this salad is packed with animal products that don't exactly lend themselves to freshness. Any flavor from the veggies is drowned by all the blue cheese. If you really want to get a salad on the side, this one might technically fit the bill, but you shouldn't go out of your way to visit Ruth's Chris just to try these greens. You'll have the choice between a few different desserts when you make your way to Ruth's Chris, and most of them are at least decent. But our least favorite is definitely the bread pudding. That's mostly because it's too sweet. When you first bite into it, it tastes good, but it can actually hurt your teeth a little bit. Dessert obviously shouldn't be painful. The more you try to eat, the more you'll realize just how over the top the sweetness is. We do like the texture the bread pudding has from the raisins though, and the whiskey sauce is definitely solid. So much so that we wish we could put it on a wider variety of foods. But with other mouth-watering desserts on the menu, there's no reason to opt for the bread pudding. When you go out to a restaurant like Ruth's Chris, there's a good chance that you're celebrating a special occasion, whether it's an anniversary, a graduation, or just the end of the work week. It may very well be an occasion for splurging and getting an appetizer. Appetizers are amazing because they allow you to sample more flavors without having to order too many whole entrees. And that's where the mushrooms stuffed with crab meat come in. We like that this item isn't something that you're going to see everywhere, which makes it more appealing. And in theory, it sounds amazing, but in reality, it's a bit lackluster. The mushrooms have a rubbery texture and the crab meat is bland. It was a good try on Ruth's Chris's part, but we don't think we'll be starting off our order with these mushrooms anytime soon. When it comes to the cheesecake at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, you probably won't regret ordering it. But is it the best dessert on the menu? Absolutely not. If anything, Ruth's Chris cheesecake just tastes like the store-bought variety. It's not bad per se, but it's just not interesting in any particular way. They could have added a variety of ingredients to the cheesecake, but they decided not to. It's served with fresh berries and mint, which do add a nice touch, as the tartness of the berries pairs well with the sweetness of the rest of the dessert. However, because this cheesecake is so simple, it's not exactly the best choice for splurging on a special night out. Isn't novelty half the fun, after all? It's usually not a bad idea to order seafood at a steak restaurant, but that doesn't mean it's always going to be the best thing on the menu, and the garlic-crusted sea bass at Ruth's Chris is no exception. That's not to say that it's the worst fish dish available. After all, when you crust something in garlic, it's pretty much guaranteed to taste at least somewhat good. But that's no reason to give this our total seal of approval. Perhaps because Ruth's Chris is a steak restaurant and not a place that specializes in seafood, you can't guarantee that your fish isn't going to come out overcooked. And the garlic-crusted bass is not necessarily a lovingly prepared fillet of fish. Rather, it seems like more of an afterthought, in fact. If you're looking for a lighter seafood option, then this may be the way to go. But if you'd prefer to enjoy something more interesting and flavorful, there are much better options, even if you avoid the steak. How can you not love shrimp cocktail? There's just something about this classic dish that keeps people coming back for more, time and time again. It's a chance to really appreciate shrimp for all it is, as it's not fried or doused in a complicated sauce before it even arrives at the table. Instead, you get to choose how much cocktail sauce you want on each bite. The sauce itself has a spiciness from the horseradish that'll make you want to eat the whole dish, and when the two come together, it's magic. That's all true of shrimp cocktail in general. But when it comes to the shrimp cocktail at Ruth's Chris, you can take it or leave it. As it is indeed shrimp cocktail, you can rest assured that it's going to have some basic appeal. But there's nothing unique or interesting about the sauce, and the shrimp probably aren't the freshest you've ever eaten. That being said, sometimes you just have to start off your meal with some shrimp cocktail. So we understand if you insist on ordering this. Let's get one thing straight here. Pretty much any steak you get at Ruth's Chris is going to be a satisfying choice. This place specializes in steaks after all, so you know you're going to get something that you'll actually enjoy. But there are definitely some cuts of meats we like better than others. While a New York strip is generally a great option, it's not the best choice at this particular chain.
I can do better!
When you select the New York strip, you'll get a tougher cut of meat than many of the other menu options. That's because New York strips don't have as much marbling, which is that fattiness that melts into the rest of the steak, making it juicier and more tender. It tastes good, but there are much more impressive steaks available. If you insist on ordering this cut, we definitely recommend going with a rare or medium rare preparation so that the meat doesn't get too chewy. Sometimes when you go out for a nice meal, you want to order something that feels kind of special and impressive. But this isn't an Applebee's, and you're not going to be able to order the sizzling fajitas. So what should you opt for at Ruth's Chris? The sizzling crab cakes entree should absolutely get the job done. You'll get 3 jumbo lump crab cakes that come out with sizzling lemon butter, which adds just the right amount of fat and acidity to give the crab an extra hit of flavor. That said, we do wish that the crab in this dish were just slightly more flavorful. This particular entree could have packed more of a punch if it had a touch of spiciness to it, or even just a more interesting concoction of mild spices. However, because the presentation is so special, we can look past those minor flaws. If you love a good crab cake, this option should definitely be up for consideration. If you're looking for a nice, hefty steak that is sure to fill you up and taste amazing in the process, then the Ruth's Chris T-bone steak may very well be waiting in your future. That's because when you order a T-bone, you're actually getting 2 different cuts of meat. On one side of the bone, you'll find the strip steak, which has a reputation as a super flavorful cut. And you don't have to stop there, because on the other side is the tenderloin, which is famous for its tenderness, naturally enough. Because of the bone in this cut of steak, you're going to hang on to more of that flavor and juiciness. Be warned, though, that this is a really big cut of meat. It weighs in at 24 ounces, so you're going to want to make sure that you're really hungry before ordering it, or maybe be prepared to share some with the rest of your table. If you do, go ahead and order it. We're pretty confident you won't be disappointed.
Hey, T-bone!
When you go to a steakhouse, you're probably only thinking about the beef. So you ask questions like, what's the best cut? And how many ounces do you want to tackle? But when you take a look at the Ruth's Chris menu, you may very well discover something that you may not have bargained for. The lamb chops. For lamb lovers, this is a total dream come true. Not every restaurant even offers lamb on its menu, so you may just want to take advantage of it here. If you're not familiar with lamb meat, it's worth a try. It has a stronger taste than beef, and it can also be described as gamey. Don't let that turn you off, though. When lamb is cooked well, it's absolutely delicious. Ruth's Chris doesn't necessarily have the best lamb in the world, but if you want to give it a try, you can't go wrong by selecting their lamb chops. If you're looking for one of the tastiest side dishes on the Ruth's Chris menu, you can't go wrong with the cremini mushrooms. If you know anything about mushrooms, then you know that this is one of the most popular varieties available. They have a nice, mild flavor, so even those who usually aren't huge fans of mushrooms might like this dish. The texture is also nice, soft, and meaty without being too rubbery. These mushrooms are pan-roasted, which really helps to draw out the liquid and brown the mushrooms, giving them a sweet, caramelized flavor you're going to fall in love with. What's even better is the veal demi-glace, which lends a savoriness to the mushrooms that you won't get from most side dishes. Add in the fresh thyme, and it's clear why this dish is such a winner. If you're looking for a go-to veggie side at this steakhouse, now you know what to look for. One thing you might notice if you frequent Ruth's Chris is the general lack of spicy items on the menu. If you like dishes that offer a bit of heat, you probably won't be too pleased with the selection at this chain. But don't despair completely, as there is one dish that can deliver what you're looking for, and that's the spicy shrimp. The shrimp itself is juicy and plump, and it's also fried to give it some texture. But the magic really happens when you add in the velvety, spicy cream sauce. It's not every day that you see spicy sauces that are also creamy. So we love Ruth's Chris for offering something different. This may seem like a lighter meal because it's just seafood, but it's actually incredibly filling. So shrimp lovers, this is definitely a menu option that you should check out. We were surprised ourselves that the seared ahi tuna landed a spot so close to the top of this list. But once you try it for yourself, you'll totally understand why. This fish is cooked to perfection, which isn't always the case at seafood spots, let alone steakhouses. The outside is seared well, giving it almost a crispy crust. However, the inside looks completely raw, so you get to enjoy all that flavor you can only get from raw tuna. It also comes out beautifully plated, so you may want to snap a few pictures and share it on Instagram before you dig in. The ahi tuna is also served with fresh English cucumbers, which add a lightness to the meal that complements the fish well. Add in the mustard beer sauce, and it's clear why this is one of our favorite items on the menu. We know that not everyone will want to order fish at a steakhouse, but if it sounds good to you, you should totally go for it. In general, ribeyes are considered one of the best cuts of meat. That's because they're very well marbled with fat, giving you incredible amounts of flavor and tenderness throughout the entire cut. Therefore, you're going to be fine at pretty much any restaurant you order a ribeye at that knows how to cook it well. And Ruth's Chris Steakhouse knows how to cook it well, which is why it's one of our favorite cuts there. This steak weighs in at 16 ounces, which is one of the more reasonable sizes on the menu. Compare that to an 11-ounce filet, which might not be enough for some people, while a 24-ounce T-bone steak can be too big and intimidating. But since the ribeye is right in the middle, it's a generally more approachable option. Like most steaks, this cut will taste best to most diners when cooked medium rare. But that decision is ultimately up to you. Just don't blame us if you order it well done and get an overcooked steak.
Just the way I like it!
There's just something about a seafood tower that gets the party started immediately. The fish itself is tasty, and on top of that, there's the impressive presentation. Who doesn't want to be served a massive platter full of delicious food that they probably don't eat on a regular basis? That's why the chilled seafood tower at Ruth's Chris earns high marks from us. You're going to get a variety of seafood when you order this dish. The king crab is definitely something special, and it's a great way to start off your meal. Then comes the succulent, juicy shrimp that tastes amazing on ice. The lobster may be the most luxurious part of the tower, so you'll want to really savor it. And don't forget about the colossal lump crab, which is also a treat that you won't be able to get enough of. This might seem like more of an appetizer to share with the whole table, but if you want, you can go ahead and make it your entree. We certainly won't judge.
Who am I to judge?
It's time to talk about the best dessert on the entire menu. When you go to Ruth's Chris, you need to leave some room for the chocolate sin cake. It really is sinfully good. This is a flourless cake, which means that it's exceptionally moist, so you're not going to have to worry about taking a bite of a dry slice. Ganache adds a layer of richness and luxury, and also adds even more to the chocolatey flavor. This may all sound pretty intense and frankly too heavy, but don't give up, because there's a true game changer in the form of the raspberry sauce. This is a relatively sweet sauce, but it packs a punch with a tartness that really transforms the whole dessert. The rich sweetness from the chocolate and the tartness of the sauce come together perfectly to create a dessert that we want to have every night after dinner. If you really want to treat yourself when you go out to Ruth's Chris, then the chocolate sin cake is an absolute must. When you go out to eat, you may already know exactly what you want before you even sit down at the table. And for people like that, the petite filet and shrimp at Ruth's Chris may not sound like the best option. But for those of us who can't make up our minds about what to order, this may in fact just be the perfect choice. Because when you choose the petite filet and shrimp, you basically get to try 2 entrees in one. This dish comes with 2 tiny 4-ounce filet medallions for your steak portion. These medallions might be small, but they're packing a lot of flavor. You're going to be blown away by how tender they are. The small size also makes them seem more manageable and helps you to savor them more than you would if they were bigger. This dish also comes with 6 large shrimp, which are much lighter than the steak, adding a nice contrast to what otherwise would be a really heavy meal. So if you're in a surf and turf mood when you head out to Ruth's Chris, then the petite filet and shrimp might just become your new go-to order. Whether you're celebrating a momentous occasion or you just really want to impress your date with something special, you might want to consider the tomahawk for 2. If you're not sure quite yet if it's worth it, let us assure you, it's worth it. The first thing you should know about this cut is that it comes out with a massive bone still attached to the steak. That's part of the appeal, as it really does offer a wow factor that you're just not going to get from any other cut on the menu. It's not just about the looks, as the tomahawk for 2 is also an especially tasty cut. This is a thick steak, so you're going to get a lot of meat in every bite. It's also really well marbled, meaning that all that fat has soaked into the meat. And since this steak weighs in at a whopping 40 ounces, you're not going to worry about not having enough to share. In fact, you may even be able to share it with 3 or 4. Once you taste it though, you probably won't want to. Did you think that you were going to see a pasta dish snagging one of the top 2 spots at a ranking of Ruth's Chris dishes? Probably not. But the veal osso buco ravioli really is something special. It's certainly filling, but we definitely think you should give it a try if you want to taste the best of the best on the menu. The saffron-infused pasta is out of this world, and it pairs so well with the sautéed spinach that adds a touch of green and freshness to the dish. But what really brings out the flavor is the veal demi-glace. It's an incredibly rich sauce that pairs so well with what would otherwise be a rather light pasta. This may not be something you would think to order at a steakhouse, but it truly is something special. Give it a try the next time you go. It's finally time for the best of what Ruth's Chris has to offer, and it should come as no surprise that it is, in fact, a steak. We love a lot of the dishes on the menu, but this one is undoubtedly a cut above the rest. It's the porterhouse for 2, and you might not even want to share it once you taste how good it is. Ruth's Chris website describes it as having the richness of a strip and the tenderness of a filet. So if you want the best of both worlds, it's clear why this steak is your best bet. We also love the fact that this is a dish that you can share, thereby making for an ideal date night. It's a 40-ounce steak, which should be more than enough meat for 2 people. Seriously, it's a lot. And getting to share adds something special to the dining experience. If you truly want the best that Ruth's Chris has to offer, we can't recommend enough the Porterhouse for 2.
I'm gonna consume all of this at the same time because I am a free American.
Done right, hash browns may be the most fantastic fast food breakfast item ever created. They're hot, they're crispy, and they almost never need ketchup. Plus, they come in fun shapes. Done wrong, though, yuck. So where should you go to get your hash brown fix? Imagine a bag full of sizzling hot golden hash browns featuring an impossibly light and crispy exterior, a delicately fluffy yet moist interior, and an ever so slight dusting of salt to round out the natural potato flavor. Now picture the exact opposite, and you'll know what to expect from Carl's Jr. These aren't crispy and fluffy, they're crunchy and dense. They're the oat cakes of hash browns, woefully lacking in anything resembling substance, let alone taste. Also, the potatoes appear to be mashed, and mashed potatoes are about as exciting as dirt. It's actually possible this will make you mad at Carl's Jr. After all, this is a place that's also been associated with Fruit Loop mini donuts, so it's not like they're opposed to a little weirdness on the menu and, you know, flavor. The one consolation is that they only cost a little more than $1. Next. We have to hand it to Dunkin'. They do try, as you can see by the flecks of herbs in their hash brown circles. According to the Dunkin' blog, their signature to their seasoning profile is a proprietary blend of sage, garlic, and parsley, among other untold ingredients. They also claim to source their potatoes from the U.S. Northeast and Pacific Northwest, adding how cool this is. What's not cool is how they taste suspiciously thawed out from a previous frozen state. Hash browns shouldn't taste like something that flatlined and got deep-fried back to life. The crispiness is there, but there's a definite lack of fluff. They're even slightly bendy, and bendy food just doesn't taste fresh no matter how many herbs you put in it or how much you dress it up. So the next time you're at Dunkin', do the smart thing and get yourself a warm, sugary donut instead. Del Taco's hash browns taste exactly like what you might think, an afterthought. They're also called hash brown sticks, a word that should not be applied to most types of food. Sticks are small and dry, and they definitely don't stay fresh. Maybe it's psychological, but these feel pretty small and dry as well. But they are fairly crispy, and crispiness is generally acknowledged to be the signature of a good hash brown. We just wish they'd make them a little heartier and a little more potato-y. In the meantime, it's best to stick with, well, what they do best.
Do tacos get any more kick butt than this?
Speaking of Mexican fast food restaurants with mediocre hash browns you may not have known existed, there's Taco Bell. Yep, Taco Bell also does breakfast, including hash browns. They had to do something. There's a whole morning crowd out there to feed, and nobody eats burrito supremes at 8 a.m. They eat eggs and potatoes. So like Del Taco, Taco Bell is simply supplying a demand, except with no taste or imagination. Their hash browns are bland, slightly mealy, and as dry as the paper they come in. Also kind of thin. Seriously, it's Taco Bell. Would it be so wrong to want a little bit of grease or a lot more salt? They're seriously underwhelming, but hey, at least they're only $1. Burger King calls them, quote, a blissful breakfast favorite, but this is clearly marketing mumbo-jumbo and not at all indicative of what these nugget-sized hash browns taste like. Yes, they're crispy, but they're also tragically plain and curiously not even that potato-y. That's what happens when you use no seasonings whatsoever except salt, which doesn't really count. Salt is a given. This is fast food. And that brings us to a huge problem. A medium serving of Burger King's hash browns actually contains 580 milligrams of sodium. That's roughly a quarter of your day's sodium intake down the drain, all for 10 ultimately flavorless deep-fried nuggets. Pass, just stick with the coffee. People are obsessed with Chick-fil-A, and for good reason. It's some darn tasty chicken. Again, chicken. The hash browns are a different story. For one thing, they come in a box, which only works if you eat them right away. Wait any longer and you'll have what amounts to a sad pile of shredded potato balls that have lost their crisp. There's also an unidentifiable graininess to them, almost like dirt, and that's a texture that's just super weird. Ultimately, it's a shame these don't have a little more flavor. With a bit more love and attention, it wouldn't be hard to elevate these sides to the same level as their chicken, and that would be amazing.
Generally speaking, cafeteria food is pretty much the worst. It's notoriously boring, not to mention gross. There's not a reason in the world for a restaurant to invoke the heyday of cafeteria food because in reality, there wasn't one. Tater tots, however, are the exception. The name alone makes us smile. And Sonic's tots are awesome. These little cylinders are lightly crispy on the outside, flaky on the inside, and beyond delectable. But what really makes these so great is that they're simple, delicious, and possibly most important of all, they're so filled with nostalgia they're guaranteed to take you to your happy place. Crazy, right? But just for a moment, forget the rest. McDonald's hash browns are ridiculously perfect. They're a handful of slightly sweet, buttery potato bits dipped in magic and enveloped in magnificence. One bite will simultaneously zing you back to being 10 years old again and make you grateful to be at an age where no one can tell you anymore you're not allowed to eat at McDonald's. They're the standard to which all other hash browns should be measured. Although what makes them so fantastic isn't exactly measurable. Is it some kind of special salt? Or maybe the beef flavoring they use in the fry oil? Are they made with a secret recipe of exotic seasonings only known to a few select people in the upper echelons of the McDonald's organization who have undoubtedly signed non-disclosure agreements? Whatever it is, they're what you call inspired.